Hey guys, 99.99999% of you are not currently subscribed. So if you would subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Enjoy the video. Okay guys, we're going to be going over a VOD from a D4 Braum player. And the goal of this is somebody had commented that they couldn't really tell the difference between D4 and Masters, and that they didn't think that there was really that big of a difference, like it's kind of a minuscule difference. And so I wanted to show what the difference is between the way that a D4 player is thinking when they're playing the game, when they're making their decisions. And I'm going to start by going over a game here on Braum. I don't know who this person is, so I'm just yoinking their VOD. It is what it is. They have a 53% win rate on Braum on 49 games played. They ended last season in D4, and they're D4 again this season, or this split, right? So pretty good candidate, somebody who's been stuck in D4 for about a year. And we're going to take a look at their gameplay, and in the next video I'll be going over 80 carry, and then maybe I'll expand out into other roles, but I'm not as comfortable talking about mid and top, but jungle I could go over too for sure. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at these the gameplay, and we're going to think through what this person could do to improve, because I think the impression that a lot of people get is there's a lot of misconceptions about the difference between Diamond 4 and Masters, or like D4 and Grandmasters, or like Masters and Grandmasters. And now that I've climbed through all of them, I kind of wanted to talk about those things, because I think that there's a really big myth surrounding the difference in skill level between D4 and Masters and GM. So for example, the classic trope that you hear is that the difference between D4 and, like, let's say GM, but people used to say the difference between like D4 and Masters is like the difference between bronze and diamond, right? It's like there's this huge chasm that exists between how a player is playing in Masters and how a player is playing in D4. And it takes a long time to improve. And other people will say, I can't really tell the difference when I'm watching a D4 player play, or I'm in D4, and I can't really tell the difference between me and a master player playing the game. So what's actually going on here? What is the difference? Because it's kind of hard to spot. And how can people say that there's such a big difference between D4 and Masters, or between D4 and GM? Now, let's say, because Masters is a little bit inflated, you know, where's the difference coming from? How can people say there's such a big difference when I'm not seeing it? And it's quite a complicated difference of opinion, because you have two very different worldviews on this, right? But my take is that, one, we're talking about two different things. One person is talking about what they see in terms of the gameplay and saying, I don't really notice that player being incredibly better compared to another player. So if you watched a D4 Braum player and you watched me play Braum, you probably wouldn't notice a huge difference between the way that we play Braum. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that mechanically there's not a whole lot of room for you to improve, because people aren't perfect. I miss my Q, I miss my ult all the time. And it's always going to be that way. So what I noticed, and this helped me to get better too, is I was watching like Tyler 1 playing, and I was thinking to myself, this guy's missing cannon minions, this guy's like trolling half the time and having some egregious deaths in the same way that I do. He's missing abilities and stuff like that, and half the time he doesn't seem particularly good at hitting abilities. He almost seems worse than average at hitting abilities. So how is this guy consistently hitting Challenger and I'm not? What is it that I'm doing wrong? And I also used to think, when I was kind of hard stuck in high plat and D4, that if I just hit more Qs, or if I hit more ults, or like was mechanically better, that was how I was going to improve and get to Masters or Challenger. And that's just not really the case, because, well, I would say that Master players are going to have better mechanics than Diamond 4 players. And it does depend on the champion, you know, what you need to get more proficient at. So some champions are going to be more mechanically demanding than others. And so if you were looking at like a Gragas or a Yasuo or something like that, and the difference in like the combos a Gragas is doing in Masters versus D4, you're going to notice a mechanical difference, right? If you look at the way a Yasuo player is moving and using their abilities, you're going to notice a difference mechanically. And I think that's it, is that so much of your climbing in lower ranks can be done just through your mechanics getting better, that people think if they can't see a huge mechanical difference between a D4 player and a Masters player, then there's like almost no difference at all, and it's just luck or something like that. Especially in the support role, this is a role where there's probably the least amount of mechanical skill expression involved. And so you're going to have a hard time, especially if you're a lower ranked player. You're going to have a hard time being able to tell the difference. And so the goal of this is hopefully to point out, hey, if you're that player who's stuck around D4 or like in High Emerald or something like that, here's some things that you could do to actually improve that maybe you're not seeing right now. Or if you're a gold player and you're trying to figure out what the difference is between a diamond player and between a master player or whatever, and what it takes to get there, this will help you notice that as well. And then the other thing is to answer this question. So we're looking at two different things, right? Some people are looking at that mechanical skill difference or how people are playing, and they're not noticing big differences because people are still having egregious stats at whatever rank they're playing at. Even in Challenger, people just die randomly in solo queue, like way too much. And you don't really get the whole picture. You don't really notice that maybe a Challenger player is having those deaths less frequently and they're a little bit more consistent, and that little bit of consistency is enough to put them above other players. Or you might not notice small differences in mechanics that make a Challenger player better than, a high diamond player or something. Or you might look at, these really good players missing their abilities and stuff like that and not see a difference. So it's that visual of, I'm processing what I'm seeing in front of me happening with the game, and this player doesn't stand out to me as like this amazing player that I could immediately point to and watch 1 minute of them playing the game and tell that person's Challenger, for example. League is a marathon climbing game where you've got to play hundreds of games, and consistency is really important. Not tilting and like keeping mental and not flaming is really important, actually. And so those are things that you won't see in somebody's gameplay, but might be reflected in their rank. Then there's this other concept of this huge gap that exists between like Diamond and Masters. And that's really complicated. My personal opinion, which probably disagrees with the majority of people, even who are in Masters Plus, is that the gap between Masters and Diamond is very easily traversable. I don't think it took me very long to get from D4 to Masters once I had the right mentality and I knew what to look for to improve at. So I don't actually think that the changes that you need to make from going from like D4 to get to Masters or Grandmasters are that difficult if you know what to look for. You just have to have the right improvement mindset. You have to know what you're trying to improve at, what you're looking for. That's it. And this will hopefully help with that. The giant gap, I think, comes from the idea that you're already so good by the time that you get to D4 that it's very hard to find any progress when you're already so good at the game that making an additional improvement on a game that's already 90% correct is very difficult to do. Now, this is what I think I disagree with the majority of Master Plus players on. I think that that's complete BS. I don't agree that a D4 player has the game 90% figured out or 95% figured out. I think that a D4 player has like 50% of the game figured out. Which is pretty bad, actually, because, and this isn't just to like flame D4 players or anything, we'll get into same thing with master players. Master players maybe have it like 60% figured out, you know what I mean? So what I'm saying is that while it's true that you're already really good at the game if you've gotten to D4, And so in theory, it's harder to find progress when you've already improved it so much. And so you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm already in D4. I'm playing the game really well. I've played thousands of games, thousands of hours. What could I possibly improve on? But if you think about it like that, you get stuck in this mentality of like, there's nothing for me to improve on, and you'll never find anything for you to improve on. Whereas it's very clear to me now when I watch D4 players, or when I go play on an account that's around D4, I am constantly frustrated every second of every play because of the way my AD carry is playing. And so I know, right, that there is a whole lot that people are getting wrong. And you have to imagine, too, when you're making decisions about where to go and what to do, if you were flipping a coin, you'd be right 50% of the time. So if a D4 player is only getting their rotations right and where what lane they should be going to off of base 50% of the time, they're basically as good as flipping a coin, which is like almost like they haven't learned anything about the game at all, if you think about it like that, right? It's like if you randomly chose where to go, you would choose better. But people build such bad habits actually from playing the game for a long time that your habits that you think are good because they got you to D4, most of them are good, and most of them are what made you a D4 player. But the ones that are holding you back from being a Masters player instead of a D4 player are hidden in plain sight because they're obvious dumb things that you're doing that are right in front of you. So anyways, let's hop into the VOD. And so that's where I disagree. I think that there's a huge amount of improvement that these players can make. Let's turn this down a little bit. When I play, I like my pings to be really loud and kind of blow my ears off so I can hear when people are actually saying something's happening. So we're watching a Braum player. Like I said, I think this guy, I don't know who he is, but I think he's a really good example because he's, he's been D4 for the past year or so, 50% win rate. Braum's his most played champion, so this guy is like me except in D4. And so hopefully we'll glean something from his gameplay, and you'll be able to see, whether I agree or disagree with what he's doing. And hopefully you'll be able to see just how much a D4 player is doing wrong compared to the thinking of like a master or a grandmaster player on the same champion. Two people who made the same champion. And the other thing I'll say is that my brain is lagging. Hold on a second. What was I going to say? Who knows? Okay, so we're going to watch the guy play, and we'll see how much there is that this guy could be improving on. Because, again, I don't know this guy, so maybe he has this mindset, maybe he doesn't. But, there's a lot of people who are in D4 who have the mindset that they're, like, playing really well, and that, like, they don't know what to do to improve. So let's go back, because he's already messed up. Okay, so number one, I like him standing over here, because if action happens, like, in mid lane or over here, he can move to it easier than if he's here. So if your bot lane is going to watch Tribrush and watch this area, the two entrances to your bot side jungle, it's best for the support usually to watch closer to the rest of his team, because the support is going to be able to move and provide more level 1 than the AD carry will. Because the CC level 1, especially on a champion like Braum, more impactful than what your AD carry can do in almost all situations. So here's the problem. He starts moving from here to bot lane, and they don't have to leash. But he starts moving too late. And so what ends up happening is, because he moves too late, rather than being able to walk into this bush and hide in this bush and cheese, they only make it to the second bush. In fact, he might even get spotted by the enemy minions here. Let's go back and look. They only make it to the second bush. No, I think he just barely didn't get spotted out, but only making it to the second bush is worse. So imagine if you're here right now, right? And you could auto them and throw Q at them level 1 when you're starting behind Lulu. This is like the most common play that you do on Braum, is you guard your entrance, you leave at the right time, you make it all the way up here, and if they don't respect that you could be in this bush, which they do not most of the time, especially at this rank, or they do not throw a ward into this bush, you will get onto them like this in a really bad position for them, because you can walk at Lulu and get a free auto and a free Q before she even knows what hit her. And even if they, if they're smarter and they try to throw an ability in this bush, you can sit in this back corner, right? And they'll throw an ability and they'll miss. They'll think it's clear half the time. And this is if they're really smart and actually trying to check the bush with an ability. Then you can move up here while they're walking up thinking the bush is clear. So he's already messed up his timing. And I guess at this point, because we're letting Twitch Lulu hit the minions, we're saying we're waiting here, right, to try to cheese them if Lulu walks into us. Yikes. Because we can no longer play for the wave, because we've given them the advantage on the wave in order to preserve the fact that they don't know that we're in here. So we're playing here solely for, we're going to be really patient, hope that Lulu walks into us. Instead, right, Lulu was walking towards us. She's almost close enough that if we let her walk a little bit further, I mean, she's last hitting this minion right now with Targons. But if we let her walk a little bit closer and we auto Q her, it almost makes up for the fact that we didn't get behind her for the G's. Instead, we throw Q at Twitch here, but Twitch is the one that's further away. And this probably, yeah, it still ends up being a good trade, but is it played correctly? No. But it actually still ends up being a very good trade despite that. So now imagine, right, if you had actually gotten into the bush at the right time, or if you had recognized that by letting them hit the wave, you're no longer playing to just walk out of the bush and push for 2. You're definitely maintaining your stealth, right, for as long as possible to try to get them to walk into you, to hope that they walk into you. And we go on the Lulu there. Imagine Twitch was a little bit further away, right? He didn't even flash. If you throw the Q, same play, but if you throw the Q at Lulu here, you probably force Lulu to flash. Now, why is that? We look, supports usually, there was a patch where 80 carries got a buff to their HP. So you can see Twitch had 795 HP. Lulu has 635, right? So she has almost 200 less HP than Twitch. They're both still level 1. So she's got almost 200 less HP. That's why in the beginning of the game, especially when you're cheesing, I like to focus the support, because it's just a lot freer of a kill right now with how much health the champions have. So same play, right? Lulu has to flash away there for a couple of reasons. One, she's got like 200 less HP than Twitch. She has like 2 or 3 auto attacks, maybe even 4 this early on. So that makes a huge difference in how fast it takes to kill her level 1. And then secondly, Lulu was closer. So if you had thrown the Q, same play, not even waiting for her to walk into an auto attack, but just thrown the Q at Lulu, then you probably, because she's closer, you get that 4th auto attack, right? And then she has to flash. She may even die even if she flashes at that point. Okay, second mistake, right? We're taking E level 2, even though we're winning the matchup and potentially wanting to go in on them. And our jungler is starting blue, because we didn't have to leash, and pathing bot towards us. So the way that this works is if your jungler is pathing bot towards you as a support, your jungler will get to you bot, even if they're like basically full clearing. Your jungler will get to you bot before you hit level 3. So your jungler can full clear and be bot, and you won't be level 3 yet. Which means if you're playing Braum and you take E level 2, you won't have W when Viego comes to gank you after his full clear. Which means that you can't engage, because you can't reposition yourself forward to try to hit a better Q or hit an auto attack. So not good, not good. I only take E level 2 if, like, my jungler is pathing away from us and we're not trying to fight them. The other thing is, like, here, they don't go for it, and maybe they shouldn't. It's a little bit risky, especially when we're playing in D4, right? But, like, maybe you can dive this, but I'm not going to say it's a bad play to not dive this. At the end of the day, solo queue is, again, about being a consistent player, and so just because you can potentially dive this doesn't mean you should, right? And Lee Sin is actually, like, over here and stuff like that. Although we can play with blue vision. We'll play the VOD without blue vision. That way, you know, we're not hindsight Andying anything, and we're thinking about the way we would actually think about it. So who put this ward down? Was it Braum, or was it... Yeah, Braum wrapped around and put this ward. So that's fine. I would actually say this ward's a bit of a mistake as well. You can see, so Viego hadn't finished his clear, but the reason why he hadn't finished his clear is because he did 3 camps and then walked straight to bot. But he could have, you know, that's the timing anyways. You can believe me or not, you know, it is the timing. This ward is not good because actually after they hit level 2, especially with how far pushed up they were, he should have gone and warded this bush like after they hit level 2 and then had no ability to engage. So generally speaking, you hit level 2 and you fight their bot lane, or their bot lane doesn't let you fight them. Either way, after the little skirmish is over, you know, it takes 10 or 15 seconds after you hit level 2 for the skirmish, you can ward, you know, either bush is fine, but this bush is actually a little bit better because this obviously doesn't show you some paths that he can come in, whereas this bush is going to show you whether he's coming from the river or whether he's coming through Tribrush. It's just you're not going to see into Tribrush, so you're going to see here instead of here, which is going to give you a little bit less time to react, but it's still plenty of time to react to the gank. So you want to ward after you fight level 2. And the reason for that is because if we look at this ward, and we know that Lee Sin's down here now, so let's take a look at this, right? Like, do you see how Lee Sin is finished with his full clear and he's bought on this ward, but this ward has like another 30 seconds on it? Essentially, that's time that was kind of wasted, where we could have had this ward 30 seconds earlier and it would have shown us all the same information, but also covered us in case Lee Sin decided to skip a camp or 2 camps and come 30 seconds earlier. So this ward is usually best placed right after you hit level 2. So already here, right, 0 to 0, but I'm sensing that we missed opportunities level 1 to cheese them better and maybe get a kill / burn Lulu's flash. And if Lee Sin had happened to do a clear where instead of full clearing he skipped a camp or 2 and came straight bot, we wouldn't have had this ward out early enough, and we may have walked into him on this timer where we place this late ward here. So did we get punished for that? No, because Lee just went for a full clear, which is going to happen most of the time. But again, it's about being consistent. You know, when we're talking about solo queue where we're playing hundreds of games. Okay, this is a mess. So now let's take a look at what's happening here. So this is actually good. And we'll probably talk about this in a whole nother video actually, but I want to talk about this topic of reactive versus proactive gameplay, because that's a whole nother thing that people talk about, is whether it's better in League to be proactively making plays or whether it's better to be reactively making plays. No, Tarzan's going through a lot of drama right now, but classically, I don't even know how to say his name, Agurin, who is like the like whatever rank 1 type jungler, EU something or other like that, good jungler from EU, challenger player, plays like Jarvan and stuff like that. He says that you have to have a very reactive play style in jungle and in solo queue, where you play around your teammates and you adapt in any given situation to the way that your teammates are playing the game. And Tarzan believes that you should have a much more proactive style of playing the game and of jungling. And it's kind of just a difference in play style and a difference of opinion. But the way that I play, I think my play style happens to be much more similar to Agurin, or whatever his name is. In that, I think in solo queue, it's much more important to play around the way your teammates are playing, which we're about to see here. But also, especially in my games, so much of when I go in on support is dictated by I see the jungler, their jungler, ganking another lane, and now I know there's no chance that anyone else can be bought. And so what I'm looking for when I'm playing League most of the time is, am I 100% sure that we're 2v2 bot here? And I've played the game enough and I've played Braum enough that I know how to beat anyone at any time 2v2. It's just the way that it is. And basically, if I see their jungler outside of my lane and I know where their mid is and I know where their top is, I will go in on the enemy bot lane 2v2 and I will win that fight. That's just how I play. Now, is that a proactive way to play, to just suddenly engage on their bot lane out of nowhere? To their bot lane, it may seem very proactive. To my AD carry, when I go in randomly really fast and I like flash and W forward to a minion and ult in like a second and suddenly I'm all in on their bot lane, that may seem like a very proactive player, but is not really proactive, because actually I'm reacting to information I see on the map. I'm reacting to a play that their team is making. Now, maybe Tarzan's point is that when you play a reactive play style like this, the difficulty is that, let's say you're a jungler, right? And you need to make sure that when their jungler, you see their jungler ganking a lane, and now you need to get off your camps and make something happen across the map, it puts you in a bad situation, because what if the side of the map that you're on isn't really possible to play around because they're bad or they're behind or something like that? And now you're put into a pressure situation where you have to make an equal play on the other side of the map or you're falling behind. And you can't always make that equal play because maybe the lane state is not in a situation where you can make an equal play, or your teammates, like I said, aren't going to be capable of pulling off what you need to do in order to try to make a play. Like maybe they get to gank mid for free, but you have to dive top or something like that. And maybe your team isn't capable of pulling that off, so you just can't do anything and you fall a little bit further behind. And so maybe what Tarzan's point is at least on jungle, you should be looking for proactive plays where you have a really free guaranteed play in between farming, and then that forces their jungler, no matter where they are and who they're around, to try to make something happen, even if it's not easy for them to make something happen. So like I said, maybe there's an argument for both sides. Maybe it's just a play style difference. Maybe for jungle, it's better to play proactive because you're the one usually making the first move, unless you're letting their jungler make the first move. Laners are in high elo are going to play pretty passively until we see jungle action, right? And so, you know, I do like that the Braum takes a lot of initiative here and tries to go in, but this whole fight, especially from Ezreal, actually is a little bit sloppy. The other thing I want to say about this game too is that let's see what's going on here. Why is Braum positioned down here? It looks like he's trying to go ward here. So we'll take a look at this. But another thing I'll say about this game is that this is a game, I didn't want to pick a game where like the Braum player just gets steamrolled or something like that, because obviously you're going to have like a bad game. It's not really representative of how you normally play as a D4 Braum player. Or you're going to have a, you know, really good game where you stomp the enemy team, and that's not really representative either. So this is a game where he got ace on op.gg, which means he was like the best player on the losing team. He performed pretty decently in terms of his KD and stuff like that. And it's probably one of those games that you would chalk up as a D4 player to like, I played pretty well, but I did my best and couldn't win the game. What could I have done? So it's not one of these games that's like terrible to review or anything like that. Obviously, I picked a good one. Okay, so let's go back to not having vision, right? And so I don't know why we're backing off. So I guess we're scared of getting ganked here. Lee Sin is off map, right? So Braum's kind of scared to walk up to the wave. But then we see Lee Sin mid. So at this point, right, if I'm playing Braum, I'm strafing towards this melee minion, right, when we see Lee Sin. And I'm trying to W to this minion and go in on Lulu or Twitch. It is possible, and maybe this is even what he's doing, to want them to walk up further. And so it's kind of counterintuitive, but sometimes when you want the enemy bot lane to walk up further because you want to go in on them, if you just walk, straight at this minion here, they might respect the fact that you're looking like you're wanting to walk up suddenly and go in on them, and they might just back off. So sometimes in order to bait them forward, you need to walk backwards. But I don't think this is one of those cases, and the reason why I don't think that is because they're already within melee range of you if you W this minion, right? So they will not walk up further than this, and you don't need them to. The problem is that Braum probably either I don't know, it looked like he was walking towards here to ward. I'm not in his head, so I don't know. But he was playing this too far back. In fact, Lulu walked up really, really far. And she actually walked up past the melee minion, which is crazy against the Braum. Super illegal, especially while their jungler's showing mid, right? And Ezreal recognizes that this is such bad positioning by Lulu that he's actually the one that starts by throwing his W and looking like he's going to go in. And then Braum just kind of steps backwards in a circle here instead of, again, W'ing forward to this minion. And you may say, well, Lulu's backed off quite a bit, so we don't need to W forward to this minion anymore. Except Twitch is still really close to this minion. So if you, instead of running in a circle, if you walk forward a little bit here, you get to here and you're in W range. So you may or may not be able to auto Twitch after you W here. Maybe if you W and E, because E gives you 10% movement speed, and he makes a little bit of a wrong click or something, you're going to get an auto off. Even if you don't get the auto off, if you W here, you have a very decent shot at hitting a close Q on this guy, and then following that up with an auto. And Ezreal's already walking and positioning like he's going to do that. So Braum finally recognizes that he should W to the minion, but it's too late. He throws the Q, but the Q hits Lulu instead of the Twitch because now Twitch is away and behind his minions. Okay, let's see here. Then it gets a little bit more weird. I have to kind of go slow to describe it to you. It just feels bad to me, but I have to actually think about why it's bad, so we kind of have to go through it. Let's see. So what feels bad here, I think, is that not only is the W late and recognizing that Lee Sin is mid too late, not punishing the Lulu for Wing, but then here, you don't have to walk backwards and E to protect the Ezreal here. Twitch is 350 HP, and Ezreal has 638. Ezreal's 75% HP, this guy's low. If you want to here, what I'd probably do on Braum is I'd just keep autoing the Lulu. I might hold E. Using E here is okay. As I said, on Braum, if you throw up your E while you're Wing, you can get a faster Q off. It's going to give you the movement speed. So I don't mind him Eing right here when he W's forward to the minion, but he does it afterwards to try to block damage, but he doesn't really block much damage with it. And so he plays like we're backing off here, but, like the Ezreal's probably thinking, in what world is my Braum, who's 90% HP, backing off of a 250 HP Twitch? And Ezreal has W on the guy, so now the guy's 159 HP. I get that we don't have any abilities, but you're telling me that if Braum didn't just keep autoing these guys and throw exhaust on Twitch or something like that, that Ezreal wouldn't just run this guy down and auto him to death? In fact, Ezreal even has heal for the both of them, for both movement speed and for, to chase. He has Q up. He just used E backwards, right? But the only reason why he used E backwards instead of to the side to deal more damage to Twitch is because Braum just ran away for no reason. So now Braum exhaust after his Ezreal has E'd away. So they're completely not on the same page. So then the Braum, instead of leaving right when his Ezreal E's away, continues to fight, now off sync with the Ezreal, continues to fight until he has to flash away. Oh man, hard to watch. Ezreal heals because he's getting really low, and hits a WQ on this guy. Now again, why is Braum back here? Braum's still at more HP than either of them. They're both at 150 HP. These guys die to a, you know, like Twitch is dead here to one Braum auto attack and Q. Lulu is like she lives actually a Braum auto attack and Q, but Ezreal, all he has to do is auto the guy one time. So, and Braum's W has just come back up. When did Braum W come up? 5 seconds on it. 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's up this entire time once he backs off. So watch this. Well, maybe here Ezreal looks too low. Okay, Ezreal heals. Right here, when Ezreal heals and Twitch walks up, look at this. Braum has W. As Braum, can you not W to this minion or whatever? But this one's about to die, right? So you W to this melee right here. And you just go on him. Same thing here. Now Twitch has even backed off to the point where Twitch can't even hit Ezreal if you W forward to these minions and go on Lulu. Nothing. Really just going to let this guy walk up like that. Right past the minions again. This is the second time Lulu can never walk even parallel to your minions on Braum ever. Especially if you know that their jungler is not bot. And it's been a little while, but their jungler was mid. And probably like back at base. So their jungler's probably like in here or here. But their jungler's not bot yet. So, you know, she can't walk parallel with your minions, let alone in front of them. She walked in front of this guy's minion once over here, right? When we saw Lee Sin first showing mid. And then a second time during this fight here after Ezreal healed. This is a good W forward. Oh, God. Let's take a look at what happened here. So it's a good W forward. Yeah, this is just a little bit unfortunate. This is a good spot for Braum to W forward because he's going to be able to come out of the W and throw auto Q, right? But unfortunately, his jungler is not like walking at them here. His jungler stops in the bush. Now, unfortunately, and I don't really know why, he just throws Q at the Twitch, which again is the person furthest away from the Ezreal and stuff. He just throws Q onto Twitch instead of auto-Qing the Lulu. I don't get it, but he throws down the E, and Twitch flashes away. Oh, okay. There's so many mistakes, it's actually going to take too long to go through the whole game. I'm sorry. It is what it is. So but okay, I hope that 4 minutes into the VOD, probably 20 minutes into my video, I hope that we understand already, right, that there's so many mistakes, right, where I disagree with, again, at least 50% of the way that he's used, like, everything. His auto attacks, his abilities, right? I disagree with over 50% of the usage. So you have to understand that if I'm using everything at a different time, it's not like the difference between D4 and Masters is like this tiny little thing that's super hard to figure out and improve at. It's like, no, you're doing pretty much everything at the wrong time and you need to rethink what you're doing. You have the baseline of mechanics, you have the baseline of knowledge about your champion and about what their champions do in the game and stuff like that, but you need to, as I keep saying, rethink the way that you're using your abilities, because you're using them all at the wrong time. All doing the wrong things. So right here, right, once Twitch flashes away, immediately it's like a back off. What you're playing for here is once you burn Twitch flash by yourself here as Braum, this is why it's such a good W. He didn't even play it right. He didn't auto Q the Lulu. He just Q'd Twitch and ran under their tower. Now imagine here you just Q the Twitch, right? You W, you Q the Twitch. You take his flash for free. And then instead of taking a bunch of turret shots, okay, so he flashed. So you're going to take one turret shot at this point. But your click now should be backwards, right? You're going to clear this wave, and then you and your jungler and your AD carry are going to try to dive them. Or maybe you consider you don't dive. Instead, Braum ends up tanking a second turret shot. And here's the thing. You might think, okay, my jungler flashing in like this is troll. But because it's not going to go well, I can already tell you that. And I haven't seen it. This is my first time watching the bot. But you know, you can tell this flash isn't going to go well. However, if you're continuing to tank like this instead of backing off, you're signaling to your jungler you need to go for this flash play right now, otherwise Braum's out of this fight. So instead of backing off and playing to clear the wave into their turret and then dive them together, you're playing to keep tanking the tower for your jungler and hope that he flashes in and kills them. The problem is that your jungler cannot flash in and kill them here, and so this is a really bad play. Yeah, so Braum takes that extra turret shot. He baits his jungler into doing this flash play. His jungler hits the stun. He does miss Q in Braum's defense. The jungler misses Q. If he hits Q on Twitch, he would have traded 1-for-1 with the Twitch here. So right here, he Qs, and it just goes below them. If he had Q'd here, Twitch would have died, you know, to this auto attack or whatever. And this would have been a 1-for-1. But this is exactly what I'm talking about, of you're making a play, right, where you expect your jungler to play completely perfectly. And if you're making a life or death play, your whole lane for, you know, this game dictated by this play that you're allowing your jungler to go for, or encouraging your jungler to go for, don't let it come down to an auto attack, right? Don't take a play that's that thin where your jungler has to play everything perfectly in order to just trade. And keep in mind, even if he had hit that Q, he's probably just trading 1-for-1 here and then dying to the turret, right? Because there's no way out for him here. So why go for this 1-for-1 play where if your jungler misses a single auto attack by hitting the turret, if he misses Q, if he missed his stun, any of these things go wrong, right? And the play results in a 0-for-1. So just not a good play. That's what I would call a very thin play, where you're making a play that's in Masters. Would that play go 1-for-1? Yes, but you're not wanting to make that play. You're not wanting to make that play. And then Twitch actually says in all chat, which is kind of an interesting point, but kind of true, is that they lost bot after the level 1 cheese, right? And it's true. They didn't do a good enough level 1 cheese, and then they lost anyways. But don't pretend like that play, right, like the Ezreal did. And again, the jungler walking in didn't have much to do with Ezreal. But don't pretend like that play was only your jungler doing that. Because you're probably thinking here, this is the level of delusion that exists among League players, right? We'll be sitting here in front of this tower thinking, okay, we're going to dive them. They're 100 HP. And then your jungler will flash in just like you want him to, because you want to dive them and deny them the wave. He'll die, right? And then you'll say, my jungler's an idiot. He inted my lane. Even though you just wanted to go for that play 2 seconds ago and encouraged him to do it by tanking the tower. Don't pretend like you didn't do that. We know it. Wait, hold on. He had already messed up again. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is another big thing that I do that I don't see a lot of, like, D4, you know, let's say, like, low high elo players doing. So he gets into lane here, right? When you get into lane, they don't know where you are. You could be mid, you could be top for all they know, frankly, right? They have no idea where you are. Also, and this is actually a really good tip for most players watching this who are going to be actually like lower than Diamond. Up until you get into Diamond, even in Diamond, people don't have a good enough sense of when you're going to be back in lane, like when you're supposed to be back in lane. So this is something I do over and over again, every game, even in Masters and stuff like that, is instead of showing here, why don't we walk around, right, and see if we can get behind them? Or why don't we slip into this bush, right, and get another cheese off, just like level 1, right? So imagine we're Braum here, and imagine instead of doing this default play where we've wasted 75 gold on a control ward and then we drop it in the tri-brush, what if we just walk into this bush, or this bush even, while they're not able to see because the wave's pushed in? So Let's take a look at where he ends up. So this would be tight. You know, he walked from here to here. You know, he's probably like here. He's probably not making it into the second bush. But still, you know, you can be sitting in here, right? And so think of the possibilities. You could be in here. You could be in here. Now, there is a lower chance that this is warded than this. There's a higher chance that this is warded. We don't have vision. We can check in a second and see what would have happened. Instead, we just walk into lane and do nothing and say, hey, we're back in lane. Time for you to, you know, to play safe now. Don't mind us. We're right here. You're giving information to them for no reason, for free. You could have been in this exact same position, but invisible to them, and they would have pushed this in, and then when they walk up too far, you go in on them. Or that, you know, they wouldn't have seen you guys, and you would have been over here. Let's see if this is warded or not. It did happen to be warded. So in this case, it wouldn't have worked out, right? But you could have gone in the bush. So in this case, they had it warded. But again, it's not about what happens in this specific scenario. It's about, what was that? It's about, you know, what happens over the course of 100 games. If in 100 games, you know, 50% of the time you walk into this bush and 50% of the time you walk into this bush, right? And you try to flank them here and fight them off of your base, you're going to have a huge difference in win rate between if you just walk 100 times into lane and tell them where you are. They will never die. And why is that? It's because they will never die to you just walking into lane like this, plainly. And they will die sometimes if you're hidden in this bush. They will die sometimes if you're hidden in this bush. Now you might say, well, Ben, the wave is pushed up. You know, their wave is bigger than your wave. How can you fight in the wave? Plus, like, they got a kill from your jungler dying, so you can't fight them. Not true. Not true at all. Let's take a look, right? Lulu has an item advantage on us, but what is her item advantage? She has boots and amp tome, and we have ruby crystal. We're stronger than Lulu. Why is that? Ruby crystal is just better than amp tome for lots of details and complicated reasons that we don't really need to get into. It's as simple as ruby crystal gives 150 health. Well, here I go again. It's going to be a 2-hour long video. It is what it is. Ruby crystal gives 150 health, right? So for amp tome to be as good as ruby crystal, they're both 400 gold. You need to deal 150 damage as Lulu, like to your lane opponent. Let's say this Braum. It doesn't just have to be to Braum, but you need to deal like 150 damage to this guy with your amp tome. So amp tome gives 20 ability power. So let's say you have 100% AP ratio on like one of your abilities, or you have two 50% AP ratios and added together, you know, like Lulu EQ makes like 100%. So if you have 100% ability power ratio between your E and your Q on Lulu, you're going to deal 20 damage every time you EQ the Braum, right? So how many times do you have to EQ the Braum in order to deal as much damage with Amp Tome as the Braum gained in health with Ruby Crystal? You have to EQ this guy 5, 6, 7.5 times. You have to EQ this guy. First off, even with mana in today's League of Legends, if you EQ Braum 7.5 times, right, you're going to run out of mana completely just to get rid of his one Ruby Crystal. Just to get rid of this little 150 HP on his health bar. Also, it's actually even worse than that, because that's assuming that your AP ratio is like applying to the guy's true damage. Braum, you know, I like to use 50% just because it's easy math. I guess we're really early into the game right now, so he actually only has 27. So let's call it 25% reduced magic damage. It's even worse than that because you're actually going to have to do an extra 25%. So if we're talking about 7.5 hits, an extra, well, 25% on 8 would be 2. So you're going to have to hit him like 9.5 EQ combos to take away his one Ruby Crystal. Not his whole health bar, his one Ruby Crystal. Well, I mean, the EQs will do more on their own, you know, the base damage and your ability power from other sources. But the damage that you're doing with your Amp Tome, right, versus this guy's Ruby Crystal, strictly speaking, at level 4, you're going to have to hit this guy with 9.5 EQs. So that basically it's like if you hit this guy with 10 EQs, your Amp Tome is outpacing or outperforming his Ruby Crystal. Not ever going to happen. On Lulu even, this is a mistake to buy. You're supposed to buy Ruby Crystal first on Lulu because of how much better Ruby Crystal is than this. This is just true in general. I mean, this is one of the reasons why tank items are OP, is because damage items have to go through this stuff. The only reason why Ruby Crystal wouldn't be better on Lulu is if you're playing Lulu like a god and you literally never get hit by anything, so the 150 HP on you doesn't matter at all. But let's be honest, this is a D4 Lulu player, right? Playing against like a Braum who's trying to W into him. This guy's not going to go untouched and be making really good use out of his Amp Tome. And then the boots are kind of good because they give you more movement speed, but what does that really translate to is how many abilities could you dodge versus not having boots. And if the Braum plays his cards right, you're not going to be able to dodge his Q when you're a Lulu player who walks up past a Braum's minions, because he's just going to W to his minion and auto you, and you're not going to be able to dodge his Q, boots or no boots, when he's melee range on top of your face. So that's just the reality. These items suck, right? Now let's talk about Ezreal and Twitch. Yes, Twitch got an assist, Lulu got the kill or whatever, so their kill went to Lulu's boots, right, which is useless. Okay, so now, maybe Lulu can run away a little bit easier when Braum gets on top of her. But if Ezreal and Braum are on the same page going in when this Lulu is messing up, which she is prone to do, we've seen twice already in 4 minutes, they're going to have no problem, boots or no boots. Now, Ezreal has Tear, which is kind of useless, right? He's going to get some extra abilities, but it's mostly a scaling item for him. But he has 2 longswords, so he's got 20 AD, whereas Twitch picked up a dagger and boots. So Twitch has 10% attack speed. Double longsword, 20 AD, much better than 10% attack speed, right? And again, the boots is only going to matter, so Twitch's items are only going to be better, just like Lulu's, if they can manage to dodge a lot because of the boots. And maybe that's the case. I mean, you are playing against an Ezreal, so maybe Twitch dodges out a Q or something that he wouldn't have otherwise been able to. But, we'll see. Now, this W, so I don't like the way he enters the lane, giving them free information about where he is, and not setting himself up for the potential, like, bush cheese that he could have done. Now, Ezreal's obviously looking pretty aggressively here, and I don't know why Braum is going to W forward into, what is this, 6 ranged minions and a cannon minion, and he's not even he's not even close to being able to auto attack one of these people, and obviously he has no shot at hitting a Q on either of them because they're behind 7 minions. So I don't know what this W is, but it's a D4 W is what it is. So we could just go through, and every time he presses an ability, let me tell you, sorry, it keeps redirecting away. Let me tell you whether I agree with whether he uses his ability correctly or not. Because I'm telling you, 90% of the time, it ain't good. Here you could throw a free Q. Okay, he misses. That's unfortunate. Didn't have to do with the boots, by the way. The Braum did a classic thing with his Q. So why does he miss Q here? I can tell you exactly why this player missed Q here, and I can't even see his cursor. This guy, when he walked over here, didn't actually aim at the Twitch. What he did is he aimed at where the Twitch was going to go, and he held his cursor here, and he waited until the Twitch should have walked back into this area, and then he threw the Q. You might say, oh, Twitch moved forward and dodged it. The Braum didn't hold his Q, aim it at the Twitch, and then throw it. This is a classic thing. All kinds of little things like this, right, that people don't understand, or don't even think about, right? But let me articulate some of the way that people miss their abilities and stuff like that. Really common ways to miss your abilities is you're expecting someone to move somewhere, and it's much easier to hit an ability if you aim at a static position, like you're holding an angle in CSGO or something. You wait for them to walk into it, and then you throw your Q. Oh, that took me to the top side of the map. Okay, so you're sitting here, you're holding this spot, you're waiting for them to walk into it, and then you throw your Q. Again, this can be good in some situations because if you're holding like this, and they walk right into it, very easy to consistently hit your ability because it takes all of your cursor movement completely out of the picture. The problem is that if you get in the habit of doing this too much, good players are going to start to dodge and move back and forth. And if you're trying to hold like this and wait for them to move left or right, it can work, but sometimes, right, you need to readjust when they don't walk into it. And you can't just, it's almost like you're timing it rather than looking at where they are and shooting it, rather than aiming and shooting. You need to actually readjust. So if you're holding here, right, and the person walks towards it and they're walking towards it, you need to adjust at the last second and put your cursor to where the person is and then fire the ability. So if you just try to hold this, this will work really well in the beginning at lower ranks where people are not dodging and they're not moving and they're moving in very obvious patterns and directions, or they're clicking very far away from their character and so it's kind of auto moving them in a straight line. Very easy to hit abilities this way. But when you start playing in Diamond Plus, if you're using your abilities this way, you're not going to adjust at the end. And I'm telling you the huge difference between holding your cursor for like 3 seconds in the same spot and then firing your ability and making a little adjustment at the end. Big difference. That's going to be the way that you predict, or not predict, but that's going to be the way that you, one way that you're going to deal with people juking. The other thing, of course, is that rather than firing the ability when you expect them to, high elo players know when you expect them to cross your cursor. So that's exactly when they're going to dodge, because just as you expect that that's when you're going to throw the ability out, they expect that that's when you're going to throw the ability out, and they'll dodge at that time. That's why you need to make that minor adjustment there at the end, because good players will start dodging at the same time that they think you're going to throw the ability, just like you think you're going to throw the ability at that time. Second thing about hitting your abilities is that the most OP thing is to literally just wait. So rather than making a little adjustment and trying to quickly throw it, so if we see the Twitch juke to the forward here, we're gonna like adjust our cursor and throw the Q. Just don't throw it. Wait for him past this timing when everyone expects you to throw the Q, when most people would throw the Q. Just wait for the Twitch to dodge one way or the other, then readjust, then throw your Q. And he's going to have a hard time juking back and forth and back and forth. And if you can find yourself, of course, in situations where you just hold the thing and walk at the guy, and he keeps compromising his positioning, because the second he actually starts to walk away against the wall, you're going to throw the Q at him and hit him. So imagine you're just holding your Q here, he jukes forward and starts running away, and now he's flushed out of this position because he's not going to walk into melee range of Braum. You can just hold your Q, and now if you have Q on Braum here, instead of having wasted it on that one where he could juke, and he had some room to juke, now you throw it here when he's pinched against the wall, he has no chance of dodging it whatsoever. Or you even switch targets and throw your Q here at Lulu while she's locked in this auto attack animation with Ez, since Lulu's closer to you and Ezreal, and then you do that one. Now Lee Sin happens to be here, so that's not great. Let's take a look at this one. But yeah, so you can throw a free Q here, but just hold it a little bit or make that adjustment at the end. Here, as soon as we see Lee Sin, we gotta back off. It's kind of unfortunate that Ezreal got chunked for so much damage. I guess he didn't want to E the Lee Sin Q. Maybe he felt like he was too close to the guy, or he really wanted to save it for getting over the wall to make sure he's out. If Lee Sin flash Qs him or something like that and is able to follow his E, it could be really bad for Ezreal. So even though it looks really bad that he lost half of his HP, it's kind of fine. Okay, this W does not make any sense, right? We know Lee Sin was just bought like 5 seconds ago. Lee Sin's probably on Dragon, or what, like on Scuttle Crab or something right now? Yeah, he's on Dragon. So watch Lee Sin move off the Dragon, especially if we continue this fight. Yeah, so Lee Sin looks... Oh my god, this Lee Sin's creepy, maybe. Oh my god, there's so... We gotta pause the video again. There's so many things are going wrong. It's all wrong. It's all wrong. Okay, let me explain what's going on here. Okay, we'll go ability by ability from all 5 players, I guess, because it's just too much. I mean, I can't. Okay, so Braum shouldn't W forward here because Lee Sin was just bought, right? And we know that he's like in the river on Dragon or gone back to his camp. Either way, he can just turn around and come right back bot when he sees this kind of shenanigans happening, right? The other really good thing to do is not just to play around enemy jungler, but play around what your jungler is doing, right? So you can see your jungler, even if you have the memory of a goldfish and don't remember Lee was in your lane 5 seconds ago. And so right now, top lane is strong-sided, and we're playing for grubs, or what are they called? Yeah, grubs. I thought they were Krugs for a second. Yikes, we might have to put the jungle VOD review on hold until I figure out what the camps are called. But listen, all jokes aside, I mean, okay, so we're playing for this here, right? So like in the same way that you would expect, you know, if you're doing Dragon or something like that, in the same way you would expect your top laner to play safe, our jungler's getting Dragon for free bot, like in the same way that you would expect that to happen when you're bot lane and you're weak-sided and we're playing for grubs here, you gotta expect that we're playing for grubs and that we are not trying to do any like proactive aggressive plays right here. Okay, so the W forward makes no sense. On top of the fact that the W makes no sense because Lee's not here, it also doesn't make sense because, oh, this stupid thing, because it's very close whether you can get an auto off or not, and you can't Q in traffic here. Oh my god, this thing. Oh, he does get an auto attack off without even using E, but doesn't even attempt the Q right there, because why would you attempt the Q? So Q on Lulu here is also bad. Now, maybe it's because we... Let's go back. Maybe it's because we see the Twitch. I gotta keep this off, but I was trying to show that like we know Lee Sin's here, but we knew that even if I didn't turn it on. So maybe it's because we don't see the Twitch anymore, but you really should not Q Lulu here. Oh, no, no, no. Okay, we saw Twitch turn at us for sure here. The reason why you don't Q Lulu right here is because Lulu's not a threat, and Ezreal can't move forward to kill Lulu right here when we Q. Ezreal cannot move forward. You'll actually see, we just saw part of the fight. He does go forward into this Lulu to try to kill her right here, but you can't do that because he'll die to Twitch here every single time. What you need to do as Braum is you need to start moving in between Twitch, who's like over here right now. Yeah. Oh, he's even further. You need to move in between Twitch and Ezreal, and you need to be holding Q to put passive on Twitch, and your play here is to protect Ezreal with your E and your W. Oh, he used his W running forward at him when Lee was right next to him. I forgot. But either way, it'll be up in 4 seconds. Use your E to protect Ezreal from the Twitch. And then by the time your E is expired, if you hit your Q and you put yourself in a position to like auto the Twitch in front of Ezreal, Ezreal and you will stun him up, and you just chain deal with the Twitch. As soon as he comes out of invisibility, you just burst the Twitch. I don't like this either, because even as low as Lulu is, right, putting yourself in this position as Braum, the only way you lose this, right, is if Ezreal dies to Twitch. That's the only way you lose this. Lulu is even less of a threat now that she's low HP, right? So it's imperative that you put yourself between the Twitch and the Ezreal. Instead, Braum turns at the Lulu like he's going to hit her, and Ezreal and him are going to kill her. Oh, but then he doesn't even auto her. He turns away and does what I said because he recognizes the right thing. But now he didn't get that auto off on Lulu. And now, because Braum sent these signals with his Q and walking at Lulu, they're constantly playing on the wrong page. Because he sent those signals that we're going to try to burst Lulu, then go on Twitch, Ezreal tries to finish off the Lulu, but he doesn't have the juice. Mostly, by the way, just because he didn't get the Braum auto attack. He even flashes for... Oh, yeah, he didn't even need to flash. There's a straight Q here without even flashing this. And then he can flash over here and try to get away from this. Although they're getting Gangplank ulted. They're dead. Actually, never mind. The Ezreal's dead either way. They're actually very lucky that this ended up just being a 1-for-1. Right? Because Lee Sin could have came earlier and Lulu would have never died here first off. So Braum went in at a terrible time. Your jungler's topside. You're getting grubs for free. All you have to do is not go in here, right? Even if you do go in here, it looks like the play, considering that Lee Sin messed up. I mean, if Lee plays this correctly, you've still really screwed up and you're just dead, no matter how well you play it, which is why it's such a bad play. But even if you go in and Lee comes late and you play this correctly, you can focus the Twitch, block with E for Ezreal, then switch and try to chase down the Lulu or run from the Lee coming or something like that, and you'll probably get away with a 1-for-0. You may even get away with murder and a 2-for-0 here, weak-sided 2v3 while their jungler's on Dragon. You may get away with murder for that here. And that's exactly how bad D4 is, because their Lee Sin didn't pull off a Dragon soon enough, and so Lulu died and Twitch almost died. Like, Lulu played a little bit too aggro here when they didn't really need it, and so she ended up dying. Honestly, maybe he played the appropriate amount of aggro considering how low Twitch got, just because of how much Lee Sin messed up by not coming. Twitch played this pretty much fine. Braum completely messed this up by going in the first place, and then by giving all these signs to Ezreal, like queuing and walking up at the Lulu, that they were going to just focus and burst down the Lulu first. And then if you're going to make the wrong play, at least try to make it right and don't change your mind halfway through. So instead of getting that extra auto off for Ezreal, which would have meant that he stunned up the Lulu one auto earlier, throws Q at her while she's stunned, that kills her, then he can use flash to reposition, and potentially have a better shot at trading back on the Twitch with you. That'd be good. But now we're Eing, right? We can go back so we can watch it. We're Eing here while Ezreal is moving forward, so we're not doing anything with our E. So it's a bad E, it's a bad Q, it's a bad W. So what are we doing correctly, right? I guess autoing the Twitch correctly. And bad timing, bad macro to go in when Lee Sin is around here. So keep in mind, again, this isn't a game where they even do that bad. Like, Braum is 0-0-1 at this point. I specifically picked this game. I hadn't seen the game before. I hadn't watched it, so I don't know how close it is. But, like, it seemed like it was a pretty close game. And what is he doing? He kills Twitch right here, by the way. Okay, look at this. So first off, oops, now I hit the record button. Oh, now I've really done it. It's a close game, right? So look at all of these things. And again, we're like probably an hour into my video. We're 7 minutes into the VOD. Jesus, when's this guy going to shut up about the game, And it's like, this is the thing. There's so many things that D4 players are doing wrong. I don't understand it. This is why it breaks my brain when somebody comments on my video, I can't tell the difference between D4 and Masters. There's very little difference there. It's like, okay, there's no shot, because look at the way this guy could be playing the game, right? And look at how he's playing the game. So if you compare the way I'm playing the game in Masters on Braum to the way this guy's playing the game in D4 on Braum, there's no comparison, right? Every single ability usage is not the same as me. Every single time. We'll find maybe a couple of ults or, like wild Qs that, like where you just kind of throw a Q for poke or throw a Q for disengage or something like that. We'll find a couple of abilities where he used the ability the same way I would, but I'm telling you, 90% of the time he's using his ability, I would not press the ability there in the same situation as he would. Sometimes it's as little as a second delay in order to have a better chance of hitting the ability or forcing them into a bad spot. Most of the time, it's just completely the wrong time. Completely the wrong time. So we'll get, and again, I don't mean to flame the guy. I have no idea who he is. I pulled him off of the ladder. I used kind of a cool trick to find him, actually, which is worth noting, is I was looking for people who were D4, an AD carry player and a support player, preferably a Braum player, to review. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to find one of these guys. And I realized that if I had like a D4 player on my friends list, that I knew a D4 player. And I have a lot of people on there. So I found a D4 player who was on my friends list. And I went to ob.gg and I went to the leaderboards and I searched for his name on the leaderboard. And it took me to the full ranked leaderboard, like where all the challenger master players, where everyone who's played their ranked placements is on, with like 1 million people on it for NA. I went to that leaderboard and I could see all of the D4 players. And I was just able to scroll until, and it shows you their top 3 champions. I was just able to scroll until I found a guy who his most played champion was Braum, right? It wasn't even the first guy I found. The first guy like didn't have a game played in the last 20. There were some people who just like haven't played a whole lot, or they were significantly higher rank last season and they haven't played a lot, and like so they're not really maybe a D4 player or whatever. But this was the first guy I found where it's like, okay, this guy clearly mains the champion. He plays a decent amount. There's like games we could go over that are on this patch and whatever. And like he played a game that was like fairly close. And that is probably one where you'd be asking yourself, like, what did I need to do better this game in order to win it if you're a D4 player? And the answer is he doesn't even need to fix half this stuff in order to win this game, right? He just needs to do some of this stuff better and he would end up winning this game. So right here he messed up again, so while I'm talking, so we got to go back now. Okay, so even a little bit further. So remember, they just had this fight and he lived, right? So let's take a look at what's happening here. So what's happening with our wave, right? They have these 4 extra minions here, and then you have your 6 minions plus your cannon minion. You're on your cannon wave, right? Their cannon wave is coming in right here. So you've got an extra 4 minions here, so your wave is frozen, right? And Ezreal's going to walk back to this. So right here, as Braum, you can just leave. Now, once you see Twitch, so I would have started recalling. Now, if you see Twitch deciding to stay because he wants to shove this wave in, keep in mind Lulu died and it's been a while, so Lee Sin's like actually gone. Right here, instead of walking forward at the Twitch, this is one of those situations where I would want to lull Twitch forward. He's like 300 HP, so if you Q this guy and get passive off on him, there's a good chance Twitch just dies here. He also has no sums, right? And Braum seems to recognize this because he wants to play aggressive here, right? But instead of walking backwards and baiting this guy further forward, he just runs at the guy. He just runs forward. Here he's doing it again. He's like, I guess maybe he's trying to last hit. I don't know what he's doing. Either recall here, right? But it's not good to recall because then you don't want the Twitch to actually shove this in. You want this to be a freeze for Ezreal. So you could do all kinds of things. You could recall, let Twitch shove the wave in, and then walk up here and hold the wave. Let Ezreal get back, and then recall, right? Or you can fight the Twitch here. Now I'm a big fan of fighting the Twitch here because I think actually Twitch is pretty vulnerable in this situation. Now you cannot fight Twitch if you walk up, right? So now your W is useless because there's no way you can W forward. And you're now getting hit by Twitch W. You're getting hit by an auto from him here. All to try to last hit one ranged minion, which is not helpful. And now you get hit by a second auto. And now what is he going to E you? And now you're E'd. Now you're taking damage from the poison bleed from E. Or whatever you want to call it. And now this Braum has just made the play I talked about where you sat here AFK and then try to hold the wave so Ezreal has it freeze, except he's given Twitch like half of his HP for free. And so now he's just scared to hold the wave. So now he just lets the wave crash into the turret. So Ezreal misses 1. Maybe because it's a cannon, he's not going to miss that much. Braum decided to last hit a minion that wasn't going to die, so he misses 2. Luckily, it's on a cannon, so he doesn't actually miss that much. But there's a couple of things here that are important about this. So one, I would have lulled the Twitch into a false sense of security, W'd forward to my minion, autoed the Twitch, thrown on E to chase him down. I would have hit him with Q once he's out of the minion wave by holding Q. I would have hit him with Q, autoed him again. I would have autoed him again. Boom, passives off on the guy, one more auto, and boom, he's dead. This Braum decided to go for the safer, more consistent play of holding the wave. But instead of holding the wave, he tried to lose half of his HP, last hitting a minion that didn't matter, and then failed to hold the wave. Now, why is holding the wave important? Even though, in this case, yes, Ezreal happened to only miss, like, the 2 minions or whatever, and one of them he only missed because Braum decided to auto it, right? It's still bad, and I'll tell you why. The reason why it's bad is because if you hold the wave here, not only does Ezreal get those 1 or 2 extra minions, but Twitch doesn't get a good recall. Because rather than his minions all dying very quickly to the turret, his minion wave is frozen here and killing all of these minions because he would have like a full minion wave of like 7 minions. A cannon minion, by the way, frozen. A cannon wave frozen. killing all of these minions. So Twitch would lose all of these minions by the time he gets back because his cannon minion would have killed them all. So that's one thing. Secondly, it compromises your wave state when you get back to lane, or Ezreal's wave state right now. Because now that the wave, if the wave was frozen here, Ezreal could stay here and hit it, and you could reset and then come back bot to a frozen wave, or you could even look to roam if Ezreal can hold the freeze, which he probably can because it's just a Twitch, right? Twitch Lulu. You can probably hold the freeze 1v2. So this opens you up to come back to lane for free, get a nice free recall here on Braum, and put your Ezreal in a good spot, potentially roam. But now, because the wave's into your turret, it means that it's going to push into them. So because the wave's going to push into them, now this Braum can't recall. Because now if Braum recalls, he's killing his Ezreal. Because now his Ezreal is pushing 1v2, maybe 1v3 if their jungler's now down here. Pushing 1v3 in 30 seconds from now. Yeah, Lee just killed Dragon, so Lee's still down here now. Okay, so I want to say, by the way, that since Lee was on Dragon this whole time, if I had made that play onto Twitch that I just talked about, Lee would have probably came and killed me. It is what it is. Maybe that's the reason why I'm not Challenger. But I'm a Braum player. I'm going to go for that kill on their AD carry every time. You know why? Because even if half the time I die to their jungler there, the half of the other time that I do kill Twitch there, the emotional damage that I inflict to this AD carry player, him getting humble ego checked by getting killed by a Braum, is so much more impactful that I legitimately think, this is not copium, this is not for a meme, I legitimately think that while it's sort of a coin flip, I think that the mental impact that that would have on their Twitch, if half the time their jungler's bot side and kills me and half the time their jungler's top side and doesn't kill me, but I kill Twitch every time there, I think that the mental damage that it would inflict on Twitch is greater than the death to their jungler. I'm just going to put it out there. No meme. So I think I go for that play anyways. Okay, so now look at this. Oh, wait. Ah! Wait, I'm confused. Okay, they actually kind of save it. So they do something really good here, which is they both, I'm assuming, yeah, even Braum, look, they're hard pushing this as hard as they can because they recognize that Braum needs to go back and this wave is screwed. So they actually save it, which is really good. They actually managed to save it. So they actually managed to clear this wave fast enough. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. Well, sort of. Okay, so they do the right thing. They did the right thing. Lulu just messed up here, which was what I was going to say. But so they did the right thing. They recognized that they didn't hold the wave. They didn't hold the freeze. So they have to shove it back into their turret as quickly as possible. So Braum uses everything. Every auto, every Q. Perfect. They get the wave in. However, Lulu, talk about running back in the lane and like doing nothing, right? Wasting your time.
Executed.
Oh. I guess she looked for a roam mid. Let's see what happened here. Oh my god. Okay, Lulu's trolling. So rather than running back to bot lane here, Lulu decides to help with the dragon. Which is fine. Like, okay, I'm fine with it at this point. Why are we walking closer to it? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Where are we going? I guess Lulu thinks she's ganking mid right here. Okay, I think here's where Lulu's mistake is, right? I get where she's coming from. Like, you and your jungler just did dragon. You can, like, link up together and gank mid. However, here's the problem. Two problems with this. One, you just did dragon, so their mid laner knows that your Lee Sin's potentially bot, which is probably why you see him start playing to this top side of mid right here and trying to clear the wave and get out of here. Right? He does not walk anywhere near this bush. He walks up to the top of the lane. He's as far left as he can be, you know, in game, by the way, not like politically. And the second problem, so the first problem is you're not ganking mid here if they know that your jungler just did dragon there and know that you just did it too because you got an assist. As soon as your jungler finished dragon, he ward hopped over here and looked at like enemy camps, right? It'd be more understandable if Lulu was playing for Raptors here, but you can't just AFK mid waiting for the gank to happen mid when your jungler is clearly not trying to gank mid here. and you're not going to make it happen by yourself on Lulu. So if Lulu had moved here, oh, wait, he still has time to get back to the wave. So same thing that the Braum didn't do. If Lulu just walks here, even after all of that, even after looking for the play for a little bit too long, he can just walk here and hold the wave right here outside of the turret. And now Twitch has a freeze. And now Ezreal's stuck in lane while this low HP Braum is recalling. I think they even saw Braum go into the bush, so they know, because they have this ward, so they probably saw Braum walk off the wave into the bush, or off the ward into the bush. So they know exactly what's going on here. She makes no attempt to hold the wave. So they know they could put Braum into a bad position here by either forcing him to stay to help Ezreal get the wave in, or he recalls and leaves Ezreal with no way to farm because the wave's frozen. So both supports miss an opportunity to freeze the wave on the opponent. Instead, Lulu opts to basically like mess around in the bush and throw like some abilities back and forth at the Ezreal, which she loses a trade, by the way, because it's Lulu versus Ezreal. I mean, you're not gonna win that poke battle right there. And look at how OP this is, by the way, right? They didn't even freeze the wave, right? They didn't even freeze the wave. But because of Lee Sin being on Raptors here and basically being behind their bot lane, Ezreal's still dead here. He's still dead. That's how easy it is. Now, what should have Ezreal done? Or, I can't speak English. What should Ezreal do in this situation, right? When the wave's into the tower, you can also just straight up recall with Braum. Now you might say, well, Ezreal just recalled. Okay, so if you don't have anything to buy, see, does he have? He has 400 gold. He can buy stuff here, right? Like he can upgrade this. Even if he doesn't want to take that like quick recall because he feels like it's bad for tempo or whatever. It's not that bad for tempo. You need to wait because the wave is coming back into you and you're 2v1. So even 2v1 versus their support and their AD carry, you probably shouldn't be walking up here. Now, is Lee Sin coming from a little bit of an unexpected place? Yes, he is. But there's no reason for you to be up here trying to last at these minions when you can just wait for the wave to come to the middle. So Ezreal just dies for free here. Keep in mind, too, right, that from the Braum's perspective, had he frozen this wave here, the first freeze we talked about, first potential freeze we talked about, Ezreal would have never been this far up in this situation, even though they managed to get the wave into turret. Braum overstayed, right, losing his HP after that initial Lee Sin gank or whatever. He overstayed, right, with low HP, just to not hold the wave and do nothing. They shoved the wave in, and then he recalled, but because the wave was far up, Ezreal got put into a position where if he doesn't be patient, wait for the wave, which AD carries at this rank are not patient enough to wait for the wave, he put Ezreal in a situation where Ezreal has a choice to make. He can play up and try to last hit the minions as where they are, or he can play back and maybe give up a minion or two and wait for the wave to come back into him. But Ezreal, chooses not to be patient, and so Braum put Ezreal in a position where Ezreal was going to die. That's just the way that it is. Now, if you're Braum here and you're a D4 player, you probably don't understand how you killed Ezreal here at all, or how you put Ezreal in a position, let's say, where he's potentially going to kill himself because he has to answer the question that they're posing to him. By the way that they're playing the wave, he has to answer correctly, and he answered incorrectly. Right, but you put him in a situation where you had to answer that question in the first place. Your job is to make it so your AD carry has no complicated decisions to make whatsoever, and all they have to do is farm for free and follow up on you when you W into the enemy bot lane. It's that simple, right? You want to make it so that your AD carry doesn't have to worry about the wave. They can farm for free. What's going on here? Okay, so they got the wave in, right? So now we're in another situation where our wave is pushing away from us. But what are they doing? We don't really know. Potentially they backed here, but probably not, because they just... Did they really recall here? There's no way. Okay, no, they did not. That would have been really bad if their bot lane, like, recalled for no reason. So I don't even know necessarily then why they shoved. I guess it's okay that they shoved. The lane resets to neutral, which is what we want. That's the important thing. So right here, Ezreal's playing his hand a little bit too much, right? Like, as far as we know, luckily I'm paying so little attention to the map. I actually didn't see where their jungler is when I had that on to see if their bot lane had recalled or not. But I mean, we can run through the scenarios anyways, right? So I would want to fight their bot lane here, but we don't know where their jungler is, so that's why I would hold back. Ezreal, I would say, though, if you're looking to potentially go in on Lulu or something, is playing a little bit too aggro, because he's standing here, he's pushing them back quite far. They can't really walk up in this gap between their minions here because they'll get poked. And Braum is also up too far. Again, Braum should be trying to really bait the enemy in and utilizing the full range of his W to lull them in with that sense of comfort because of how far back you are, and then W forward at max range to get an auto Q on them. Instead, Braum is just like bullying them off of the wave, right, with his manly, menacing presence, and Ezreal's doing the same thing. But a lot of this is fake pressure, right? It's fake pressure. A lot of low elo players especially think that the further up you can stand, the more waves you can push, the better, right? But that's just not the case, right? It's not always the best thing to push. It's not always the best thing to stand as far up as possible. Most of the time, doing this kind of thing is going to get you killed to their jungler over and over again. It's going to make you very vulnerable. Oh, look at this. Our jungler's here. He's looking for a little lane gank here. Okay, it's actually, I would even say, my bad. Their positioning is a little bit more understandable given that their jungler's trying to walk in and lane gank. Okay, this guy got a little bit greedy. Instead of, I mean, okay, but they're also still trolling. So he's going to get spotted by this ward because instead of trying to walk up into this bush, he's trying to walk into this bush, right? But now let's talk about this. If your jungler's here to gank you, why are you killing their whole minion wave? So remember when we were talking about Ezreal and Braum positioning too far forward? Not only were they positioning too far forward to bait them into a 2v2, but they're definitely positioned too far forward if their jungler's wasting time here trying to bait out a 2v3, right? So they're way, way, way too far forward. Why would they think that their bot lane's ever going to be able to walk up here? So they're wasting their jungler's time. Oh, you know what? This isn't an enemy ward. This is a blue ward that's been pinged by the red team. So actually, they haven't even seen the Viego. Okay, great. So now the wave is going to bounce. Why did Ezreal Q this minion, right? If we want the wave to push into us. This, oh no. Oh, say it ain't so. Again, we want them to push into us so that our jungler is cheesing them out of the bush. It's the same thing as the level 1. Imagine if level 1, your Braum was sitting here in this bush trying to cheese them, and your 80 carry is out here pushing the whole minion wave so that they can't walk up into you. Look at how much time their jungler's having to waste. Same thing here. Why is Braum all the way up here? And you know why? It's because they feel so safe that their jungler is here that they feel like they can play however they want. And they're playing to just push these guys back and make it so they have to play safe and can't play the game. They're not actually trying to bait them into a fight, which is what they should be doing, because if they bait them into a fight, oh my god, you gotta be kidding me. He Targons the cannon minion and showed that their jungler's in the bush. I would never. And we're trying to go in on them, but we can't go in on them because they're under turret. And now our jungler's here, but now this is terrible. We definitely don't dive this. Okay. Oh my god, it's gonna work. Oh my god, it's a disaster. Lee Sin's here, FF. Okay, let me go back and talk about why this is so bad. Holy moly. I think they actually just take 0 for 0 here. Oh my goodness, it's bad. But do you see what I mean? Like, when has there been a situation in this game where they're not doing the wrong thing? That's what I'm saying. Every possible time there's a decision to be made. Do we freeze this wave? No. Lulu, do I freeze this wave? No. Do we push this wave in and stand in front of our wave so that they can't walk up into our jungler who's trying to lane gank them? Yeah, we stand in front of our wave so that our jungler can't gank. Do we dive them when we have made it extremely clear? We literally Targons the minion, showing that our jungler's here. Our jungler is using his I don't even know what ability that is. His E. He's using his Harrowed Path, you know, directly at their bot lane, so they know he's here, right? They see him, even though he's invisible. They see him because the turret's got true sight, you know. He doesn't even want to dive, so he just hits the turret to get that plate. They get the plate. They reposition. He's thinking about it. They're pinging. Be careful. Actually, they didn't ping. Be careful. Oh, Ezreal signal. I see this Ezreal signal to be cautious. He goes for it. He sees the opening. We have no idea where Lee Sin is, right? Nobody's in position to follow up this far. If I was Braum here, I gotta be honest. Let's take a look at what Braum's doing with this Viego, because Viego's clearly like walking up to try to go in here. So let's take a look at this one. So he hits the turret, but as he's hitting the turret, he starts hitting around. Okay, so look at this. Focus on the Braum here. The Braum just stands in place hitting the turret 3 times in a row. If Braum had autoed or had moved between his autos on the turret, he could have been on the back side of the turret next to the Viego. Then when Viego ults in like this, he could W to the Viego and follow up on this amazing Viego ult with Braum ult, and probably, again, you get away with murder. You Targons to reveal that their jungler's there. They can walk off the turret. Their jungler's bot side to defend them, but is wrapping around on the flank instead of coming directly to their aid, right, while they're under turret. They both get hit by a 2-man Viego ult, despite the fact that he's literally just walking up in a straight line at them, autoing turret in between. And you just sit AFK, right, instead of following up on the play. So now they're out. Same thing with Ezreal. No follow-up from the Ezreal, right? So now they're out. Oh, God. And now we're ulting at the same time that the Viego is exhausted and running away because Lee Sin's coming. And how many times do we see, right, by the way, that instead of being on the same page, it's the same thing that happened with this Braum and Ezreal earlier. They're constantly, like, have no idea what to do. They're too slow figuring out what to do, so they're always waiting. And then Ezreal sees the Braum go in, so now the Ezreal's going in, but now the Braum's going out, and now the Viego's going in, but the Braum's not ready to go in yet, and now the Braum goes in, and now Braum's dropping ult, but now Viego's already out. It's like they're not on the same page because they can't make up their mind on what to do fast enough. Okay, and if we couldn't make matters worse, we see that Lee Sin's coming in on the flank and that nobody's here to... There's no damage here. We're not trying to kill Lulu Twitch anymore to follow up. We've wasted our ult. Now we're just going to throw Q at Twitch, I guess for fun, even if we hit it just to maybe slow Twitch down and zone him a little bit. So we're flashing backwards now. I think the flash backwards is fine. Ooh! Hold on. Slow it down. Okay, so the flash backwards to reposition is fine because we really screwed up at this point, so we really got to get back to Ezreal. He cancels his auto attack on the Lee, but it's actually good. I oohed at him trying to auto in the first place, because if he autos here, Braum is the one who's actually in the most vulnerable position, maybe. Actually, maybe Viego, but obviously, like, Braum's literally between 3 people. I don't know why Lee didn't just straight up kick Braum back. That's such a free kill, instead of kicking the Ezreal when Ezreal E'd, but I guess he was hoping to get him. I was gonna say, yeah, Viego's actually in a pretty tough spot too, because I think Lee still has Q here. Does he have Q? He doesn't have Q, actually. Dang, Lee's trolling too. Lee should have also just, like, waited half a second to ult until he had Q, and then he could have Q RQ. But yeah, it's good that he didn't auto, but I don't know that he intended to not auto or whether he just happened to cancel his auto attack. And then another Q. Again, I don't have a problem with this Q because it's a throwaway Q, you know, to just run away and, like, do a little bit of damage, slow them down and run away. So I don't have a problem with that Q. I would probably throw the same Q, except keep in mind, I wouldn't be throwing the same Q because I would have double killed them here with my Viego, and then turned on the Lee Sin and try to help Ezreal. So I would not have been in this position randomly over by Tribrush by myself to throw that Q in the first place. So I would not have thrown that Q if you think about it. Okay, now he's coming in again. This Q is okay. Oh my god. It's okay, but it's a little bit early, I was going to say, because nobody's there to hit him, except we move out of the way and let Lee Sin just Q the Ezreal for free, or what? We cancel auto on the control word again, but not a huge deal. Oh, that's why, is because we have to kill the ward, so we can't block Lee Sin Q for Ezreal. Oh. We have to compromise our positioning. We managed by the skin of our teeth to go for a terrible, terrible play around the lane gank. Terrible dive at bad timing with no macro awareness of where the Lee Sin has gone. By the way, has this bot lane, every single time they've gone in and fought, has it always been when Lee Sin is bot? Have they ever gone in when Lee Sin has not been bot? Oh, they went in one time when Lee Sin was not bot, when he ganked mid, right? But they like misplayed. It seems like every time this Braum wants to fight is because it's not because Lee Sin's bot, but it's because, or it's like oblivious to the fact that Lee Sin could be bot. So he compromises his positioning again. Ezreal gets killed because he tanks the Q because Braum has to last hit the ward. Galio comes in and manages to pick up, oh my god. Galio manages to come in and pick up the triple kill. Well, almost. Viego got the last one. Galio would have finished this Lulu with, or whoever it was that died with Q. Or maybe it was the Twitch, the last one. It doesn't matter. Viego should just not have tanked this. He could have let Galio tank this up and throw that Q and get the kill, and he wouldn't have died. But okay, so we get a couple of assists off of that. Now keep in mind, right, this Braum is 0, 1, and 4. So he has a 4 KD. He's having a good game. He's got 4 out of 5 kill participation. What is that? That's like an 80% kill participation. So this guy's got 80% kill participation on a 4 KD, and yet almost every single ability that he's used is at the wrong time. Almost every single time that he's gone in is had completely no awareness of whether Lee Sin's bot or not, except for maybe one time when Lee Sin ganked mid and they tried to go in and they couldn't capitalize on that either. They messed up the level 1 play. It's literally more about the gameplay is wrong than is good. He also went Knight's Vow first item, which again, I don't like. Even after the update, I don't think it's that good. I think maybe as a 3rd or a 4th item is a good spot to fit it into a support build. You can go check out the other videos if you want to understand why I think Knight's Vow is not very good. I think there's a video I made on why I think Knight's Vow is really bad, but that was before the recent update to it. And then there was a video on whether Knight's Vow was good after the recent update, where I kind of dive into it as well. And then I talk about it in the Braum guides as well in the item section. So he goes Knight's Vow first item, which is bad on its own. But if you're going to go Knight's Vow first item, you better be going Knight's Vow first item in these conditions. This is where it's best, right? Your 80 carry is very far ahead, except his 80 carry is 1 and 3 on Ezreal. Not exactly a champion that's going to be doing a whole lot of damage to heal you with the Knight's Vow passive, and not a champion that really needs that much protection with the other end of the Knight's Vow passive. And he's 1 and 3, which means that it's really bad, because how is a 1 and 3 Ezreal going to be doing, double the damage he's taking? Not going to happen. So the item's a net negative for you at this point. And the other condition that makes it good is because by going Knight's Vow instead of Locket, you don't get any magic resist. So you would want to build this if their team's like full AD, or maybe if they've got like a Senna or an Ashe support, so they've got like double AD bot or a Pyke or something like that. Instead, we're building it into a Twitch and a Lulu who both do magic. I mean, obviously Twitch does some physical damage, more physical than magic, but Twitch does mixed damage, right? He does a decent 20, 30, 40% magic damage because his E and his passive do magic damage or whatever. Lulu does all magic damage. Swain does all magic damage. So if we're against, like, on the bot side of the map here, yeah, I mean, you got Lee Sin to contend with too, and he's been in a lot of these plays, but their team's like 50% magic damage, especially early on. We're playing not against Gangplank at all. So if you're looking at like Lee Sin, Swain, Twitch, and Lulu as the champions you're playing against early, or just Twitch and Lulu might be 50% magic damage in lane. So going an armor and health item instead of getting that magic resist makes a big difference. And why does it make such a big difference? It's also because you have so little magic resist. Remember earlier we checked and Braum had like 27%, magic reduction or something. Getting the one no magic mantle will bump you up from like 27% to like 42% or something like that. So the difference in damage reduction that you get from your first bit of MR is really impactful because of the way that armor and magic resist work, right? So not going that here is really bad. So Knight's Vow here is really, really not good. And we'll see it, right? Like, we could have Locket roughly about the same time. We could have Redemption, right? Like, what would I actually go here? So we wouldn't want to build... not Radiant Virtue. That item's gone. Rest in peace, Radiant Virtue. We wouldn't want to build Rookern because they don't have double AP bot. And they do have, like I said, on their team, their team is like 50%, maybe even a little more than 50% physical damage. So I wouldn't go that ever in this game, first item. Frozen Heart, I generally don't think you can ever build first item because it doesn't have any health in it. So that really sucks as a first item. Plus, no magic resist is just as bad as the Knight's Vow. So Knight's Vow is better than like Frozen Heart or a Rookern here. And then for support items, right, you have like Locket, you have Redemption. I generally don't go Redemption first because it doesn't give you any armor or magic resist. So you're just going Locket first here. Another good item that you can pick up, but you're probably not picking up first in this game, is Bramble Vest is going to be pretty good because you're playing against a Swain who's got healing. Lee Sin's got a little bit of healing, although not a lot. Like, he's got like lifesteal on his W and stuff like that, depending on what items he goes. Although he doesn't have any yet, he's just got Eclipse. And then Gangplank's got healing on his W. Swain has obviously got a ton of healing, and Lulu provides some healing, although not a ton. So Bramble Vest later would be a good pickup. So probably looking at this game, I'd go like a Locket. We'd see how things were going. If my AD carry was really fed, I could pick up a Knight's Vow second here. Redemption is just always a good one to pick up second if you're going like a Locket first. Do we want to go Rookern or Frozen Heart? Lee Sin and Gangplank are not very attack speed reliant, neither is Swain. So really only attack speed reliant champion is Twitch, so I don't think going Frozen Heart's very good in a game like this. Because Lee Sin and Gangplank are both casters, and then Swain doesn't rely on attack speed. So you really only have Twitch relying on attack speed, which isn't quite enough champions to justify Frozen Heart. So you're not going Frozen Heart. I don't think you need so much magic resist that you would go a Rookern. So, you're again limited to like your Mikhail's, your Redemption, Locket, and Knight's Vow. So of those four items, and then you're probably not building Mikhail's this game. There's not really any CC that you would cleanse with Mikhail's this game. So you're looking at Locket, Redemption, Knight's Vow. So I would go like Locket, Knight's Vow, and then Redemption if your AD carry's fed, or you have a good target to put Knight's Vow on. It looks like he's not going to have a good target to put it on because nobody's fed. The most fed person is Galio, but Galio's building tank, so you're not going to put a Knight's Vow on him. So I would be building Locket, Redemption, and then Knight's Vow in this game. But this guy's picked up the Knight's Vow first. You can we'll see how the item performs, and then kind of think about, if we have Locket, how that might go differently. This bugged? Surely it's not 0. Okay, maybe it took a second to update. Let's go back though, because I was talking about the items. I was talking about how they've done everything wrong. Let's take a look at how they entered this lane. Let us not forget that we don't have to enter a lane by walking straight into it every time. This was honestly maybe a roam angle. I feel like the wave was so easy with the timing for Ezreal to get it in that Braum might have looked at roaming up to Grubs here off of base with his AD carry. What was the wave looking like when they left lane? Galio was here. Wait, Galio's trolling. Wait, they're all trolling. Oh my gosh. Let's back it up, back it up, back it up. More mistakes shall be covered. Okay, let's take a look here when the wave settles out. Right here, right? So let's take a look at this, right? Wave state. So Galio is recalling, but you cannot recall here and leave somebody's lane like this, because they've got 5 ranged minions to 3. You know, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including the cannon minion, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus the cannon minion. So I mean, just obviously at a glance, Blue's got more minions here, so this is slow pushing away from Ezreal. Well, Ezreal's all the way back at his tier 2 turret. So if you're Galio here, and this lane is completely open right now after you just killed this was a play, I forget because I've been yapping so much what even happened last in the game. This is where Braum decided to finish off the ward, and then Lee Sin hit the Q on Ezreal, blah, 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 and then Galio ended up ulting in, getting a kill, chasing them down, and then getting a kill onto Lulu or Twitch, and then Viego ended up getting the last hit on Lulu or Twitch, the other one under turret. So Galio's here, they're all dead. All you have to do is clear this next wave so that this wave is under the turret and bouncing back into Ezreal, and Ezreal's not losing, or your team is not losing this CS for free. Instead, we just leave the wave like this and deny a cannon minion. Oh, hopefully he gets there. Oh, his E was in 1 second. Oh, it's so cancer. So instead we leave the wave like this, which is just weird. By the way, regardless, Braum should actually expect the Galio to push it. Somebody should ping that the Galio needs to push it, by the way, at least, if he's not actually going to do it. We're 12 minutes into the game, by the way. This is how Bent Beyond Repair VOD review goes. Braum can move to Grubs expecting this wave to be under turret because Galio's a human being and pushes it into turret. Ezreal's free farming, being patient, waiting for the wave to come back in. Braum can look to roam Grubs. Instead, Braum can't go to Grubs because he has to come make sure Ezreal gets this wave under turret, right? They get the wave under turret. Okay, now you, oh, no. Now Braum should, like, leave and go to Grubs. Okay, we're 2v2. This was fine, but we're not going to be able to fight them 2v2 under turret. So once you get the wave into turret, Braum can just leave because they're not going to do anything to their bot lane 2v2. So Braum could just be at this fight. So let's say, like, Braum lost this game, right, even though he played decently. Let's say that Braum is at this fight. I don't know what happens this fight. Like I said, I haven't seen the game. But if Braum's at this fight, and this fight now suddenly goes differently, and your team wins this fight instead of losing, and again, it's not even about what happens here. Does your team happen to win this fight, or, like, get him anyways, or, like, a 0 for 0? Probably looks like a 0 for 0 right now. But imagine if your team had just gotten wiped here, and you could have been here as Braum while Lulu was AFK watching his Twitch farm under turret, because you guys got the wave in, and you should have expected Galio to get the wave in. Ezreal would have gotten the wave in anyways. So imagine if this is a situation where your team would have died here. You know, there's a lot of games where if you make the same decision to just stay in lane here, your team loses the game over here, you know, on Grubs or whatever, and you're not actively participating in how you could think about impacting the rest of the game and the map on support, by the way. And look, I get it, we're playing Braum. I don't roam a whole lot on Braum either. He's not the best roaming champion, but you got to know when you can and can't roam. And we haven't seen a single roam the entire game. And I'm telling you, like, even though I don't roam a lot, and it's bad to roam a lot of the time, especially if your wave's bad, there's a lot of times when, like, you shouldn't be not roaming at all, right, is my point. And you can create opportunities for yourself to roam by playing things better. So like I said, had Braum frozen this wave back here that we talked about when he was low HP, Ezreal would have been AFK last hitting this wave, and he could have roamed, right? So that would have opened up a roam timer for him. So this Braum might say, well, I didn't have any roam timers this game, but you didn't have any roam timers this game because you didn't handle the waves in a way where you could create roam timers for yourself. You didn't, and think about this. How much, did I hit this button again? Apparently not. Did, you know, how much time did we waste fighting these bad fights when... So think about this. If the whole game plays out completely differently, because instead of 4 bad fights when Lee Sin's bot, instead the lane is completely different. We, like, preserve our HP, aren't back at base off of those situations. There are going to be situations where you get the wave in and then you get to roam, because rather than dying fighting into Lee Sin being bot side, you just, like, backed off, got the wave in, and, like, looked mid, right? Or whatever. Or, like, look towards Grubs or something. So like here, did we just take turret? Yeah, we just took turret, okay. But like here, we see Lee Sin's top, right? Their AD carry's probably just backed and given the turret, especially considering Lee Sin's top. Oh, he's not recalled, but he's like backing up. And now, right, we want to shove this wave and then move mid. So let's see what happens. Or to dragon, right? Or to dragon, if our jungler's going to come do that with us. This is actually really good too. Taking Gromp here is really good. Okay, but now Lee Sin's closing in. Oh, but they're not going to stay here now, are they? Oh, Ezreal revealed the play. Oh my god, we're Wing in. Now this is so bad. Okay, let's back it up. Okay, so we just saw Lee Sin mid here, and we also just saw Lee Sin move down towards this way. Like we saw him exit this way, even on the map. So we cannot try to fight their bot lane this far up. Again, we should be moving for the free dragon. We could be pushing mid and taking over the lane on this Galio recall timer so that he can go bot or he can go top or something, and we can switch up the lane assignments now that bot lane is free to play mid. We could be looking at, is this a Rift Herald spawn? It's 1351, so this is a Rift Herald spawn, so we could also be playing like for Rift Herald, which is why bot lane going mid here is so good, because you can threaten the mid tower, you can play for Drake off of the mid wave, off of mid lane, and you can also play for Rift depending on what your jungler is going for or where their jungler is and what you're looking to do. The last thing you do here, you could even reset to be on the same timer as Galio. Again, almost any of the above is better than making the most overextended play on your team, right? Because look, your top laner's dead, so you have no pressure there. You've got Dragon up that your jungler's pinged, that, or somebody pinged that they wanted to do it. Who pinged on the way? Viego pinged on the way to Dragon. So Viego wants to do Dragon here, and it's pretty free because they're really backed up, and their mid laner backed because he had no mana, although your mid laner backed too. But it's a Galio with ult coming back off of base. The last thing you're going to do is cheese here into a Lee Sin who you know is standing right here. Last thing you're going to do. And so, and then for me, I'm thinking, oh, Ezreal, like the play, if any, if you're going to sit in this bush, is to wait for them to potentially Twitch to push up and walk into this bush, like right into you for a free kill. But then I'm like, oh, Ezreal doesn't think that he's going to do that. It's too low probability. So he's like ulting the wave, shoving the wave, and we're going to move to Dragon. Instead, so in my mind, when Ezreal shoots ult, as soon as he starts charging it, I'm like, oh no, we gotta leave now because Ezreal gave it away. Instead, the Braum W's forward. Oh my god, Ezreal E'd forward into tower with no mana. And now he's just getting ulted by Twitch. And somehow they get 2 kills off of this. What in the world is this gameplay? What is Lee Sin doing? Wolves! Oh! So, Lee Sin, again, just like this Dragon play where he's too late to bot, Lee Sin is late to rotate for his bot lane. His bot lane walks up too far, although in their defense, in the Twitch's defense, they didn't realize that Viego was right here behind his bot lane. Viego made a good adaptation to come here instead of just like starting the Dragon, which is what he wanted to do, right? And then Braum came in really clutch here, and so did Brahmi to block some of the Twitch ult, although it was a little bit late at the end, but it was pretty good. But then they get TP flanked. Oh god, Ezreal whiffs the Q. Now we're just walking into them for no reason, and Braum's caught by the Swain. Oh, and we're eating nothing. Oh no, it's so bad. Oh, Megalia's here, but he's hitting nothing with his ult because they got out. And we're walking back into the Swain ult, and Ezreal's dead. Oh my lord. So you see what I mean? Like, D4 games are really, really bad. Like, they're all constantly making mistakes all of the time. So, okay, let's step back here for a minute because we're probably... I mean, I don't even want to know how long we are into the VOD. It's been too long. But let me tell you this, right? To get back to the main point of the video, which is our thought experiment about, is the gap between Diamond 4 and Masters real? Like, is there a significant difference between the decision-making of a Masters player, a Grandmasters player, and a D4 player? Answer, yes. Okay, absolutely. Almost every single time they're using an ability, every decision completely different, right? There seems to be no awareness in the game of like where the enemy team is, etc., etc. Right? Blah, blah, blah. I wish we would have done this. I'll make sure on the stupid thing. How do I do? Yeah, let's just go manual camera. On the I'll make sure the next time when I do the 80 carry one, I never turn on the thing to show whether I'm right or wrong. It doesn't really matter whether I'm right or wrong about where somebody is, because it's about the probability that they're there potentially most of the time, or that they could be there. It shouldn't matter whether I turn the vision on or off. So I'll try to keep it off so I can show that this isn't like some sort of hindsight or something like that that's informing these decisions. We're just asking the question, do we know where Lee Sin is? Yes or no? If we don't know where he is, we assume he's bot. That leads to me playing very passively, actually, because most of the time the correct play is to do nothing, right? So let's see what happened here. So it was going okay, right? When we got this turnaround, it was going okay. So we kill Twitch. Maybe we get the Lulu here, right? Oh yeah, we probably get the Lulu here because the Braum Q hits. Okay, so now we need to back off. We see Swain on the ward. Right, we see Lee Sin coming in. What we can do here is we can run at Swain and like 3v1 him. Or I guess Lee Sin has enough mobility that we'll get on him. Oh no. So what does Braum have up? Q. So why are we running into no vision here on Braum? Into the Swain ability. And then we're queuing Swain, but who can hit Swain when we don't have vision of the guy anyways? Do you have words? Can we see this? It says he has 3 out of 3 currently placed. Oh, it would show the little number here, like Lulu says 1. So he has no wards. So you have no wards, and nobody can hit this guy over here. So why throw Q at Swain at all? What you should be doing is, like the situation before, is you should wait, and then when the Lee Sin comes in like that, you Q the Lee Sin. This was okay. Right? This was okay to Q the Lee Sin and stun that guy up. But then here, you can Braum E the Swain pull as it's coming into you, and it won't CC you at all. So there's no reason why Braum needs to get pulled here, because he has E up. He should have just blocked it and wouldn't have gotten CC'd at all. So then he tries to auto attack, but it looks like he canceled his auto again, because it didn't put passive on either of them. Now he E's, but Swain is behind him, and he actually walked forward a little bit. I think he's just committing to death at this point to try to get Ezreal out. Except he's not, because then he W's back over the wall. So then, amazingly, after all of these misplays, Galio ults Braum, and Ezreal flashes out. So actually, they're just all out. So at this point, Braum should just continue to walk away. Never walk back in here like this. You get hit by Swain's abilities again, you're dead. Lee Sin throws a Q over here at you, you're dead. So you're not walking into this. I think I just watched Galio E into a wall, so that's an interesting one. So Galio doesn't know what he's doing right there. Luckily, they're lucky that the Lee Sin Q hits the Galio. But unfortunately, Ezreal gets pulled. So see how Ezreal just got hit by all of the Swain abilities? Same thing could have happened to Braum over the wall right here. He could have just gotten hit by all of those. Ezreal gets hit. He shouldn't have been walking up. Braum shouldn't have been walking up. They should have just walked away. Okay, so let's see what happens. So instead, Ezreal dies, and now Galio's going to die too. They could have just walked away. Viego, by the way, oh no, he had died to the Lee Sin over here too. So now it's a mess, right? So now those two, Swain and Lee, are starting the dragon, and we're just completely off tempo, so we just give the dragon. So by the way, this play, which was mostly Braum's idea to walk into this bush here and try to cheese them, instead of just walking to dragon with his jungler and with his AD carry when they were pinging to do the dragon, instead of just walking to dragon and doing dragon with the space they had created by taking bot turret and pushing the wave up, instead he goes for this play bot, and they end up getting bailed out like twice, bailed out by the Braum ult and E and Twitch walking too far forward and them getting the kill on the Twitch and the Lulu, and then bailed out again when they're about to die to the Swain Lee Sin from the Swain TP flank when Galio is able to ult and save Braum and Ezreal, but Braum and Ezreal walk back in, and it results in Ezreal and Galio dying. And so then they lose the dragon off of that. So like, this is a dragon we would not have lost had we not done that. So now we're finally rotating mid. We should be playing right for the Rift Herald and for the mid turret. So we're going to see what we do here. At least they are coming back into mid lane. And let's talk about items here for a second too, right? So like, it's not that bad. So like Knight's Vow right now, you know, we've redirected 273 damage. So the question is, would Locket have bought at the same time so far? Would Locket have blocked 273 damage? Keeping in mind that Locket's probably blocking like 190 at level 9 or so, in shield. You know, so if you hit one good Locket, you're going to block this same amount of damage. Locket, I would say on average in a team fight, a good Locket is going to give you around 300 damage blocked. But early into the game, right, when you're like 2v2 in lane, I will admit that that's harder to get like a 300 damage Locket. Could you have blocked this much damage with Locket? Maybe. So Locket and Knight's Vow are about on par, I would say, at this point. But again, minus the magic resist. Braum did end up picking up Bramble Vest second, which I don't hate because I did bring up that Bramble Vest was a pretty decent item this game. But I don't know that I would have picked it up second here over Locket and Redemption, considering we skipped those two, right? Is Bramble really going to, give us 200 healing reduction to fight? Maybe it will. We'll see. We'll see about that. Maybe it will. It is a Swain. But it's mostly just Swain healing, because Lulu's healing is from her ult, not a lot else. So it's easy to get baited by the fact that like Lee Sin has a tiny bit of healing, Gangplank has a tiny bit of healing, Lulu has a tiny bit of healing, but really we're only building Bramble Vest for Swain, so we'll really have to see if that ends up being worth it or not. Oh god. Honestly, playing it pretty good so far. And now our jungler's coming in. So let's talk about why this was played so well. Let's talk about that. So let's take a look here. So we're 2v2 mid. I don't like that we're not warding. So, like, we have our wards here. We should throw a ward here. Usually when I'm in mid like this, right, I like to throw a ward here, a ward here, a ward here, and a ward here. Now, you're only able to do that if you have a control word. I don't really like buying control words. This guy doesn't have a control word on him, in which case I would just either drop this word or this word and play for these forward ones that are going to show you if anyone's coming on your sides. So I don't like that he doesn't have the words on the side, but basically what we do, right, as far as our abilities go, is we W forward here. Oh, maybe the W is bad. Yeah, the W is bad. This is a W that's like not accomplishing anything again because you're not in like auto range. You're barely in Q range, but you're not going to be able to do anything off of the Q because they're under turret for the most part. So I don't like this W at all. You're not saving it for an important reposition or anything like that. Like, for example, if you had W, you could back off with W here. Maybe you wouldn't be as far up in the first place, though. I don't know. But just wasting your ability. He mostly just hopped around like that because he can. And that's never a good reason to throw your ability, because it feels good or because you can. So they get a little trade onto the Twitch here. But again, they're playing pretty aggressive, not knowing. I haven't been paying attention. I don't know if we know where Swain is, if we know if Swain's bot or not. But I think Swain and Lee are both Mia. But this part's pretty good, right? He actually gets in front of the Ezreal this time because there's no word to kill this time. So he gets in front of the Ezreal, which I really like, and is able to, even though he doesn't have E. There's another reason why you don't get aggressive here, because you never kill them under turret like this. And even though it's a nice trade, you really do open yourself up because you... does Lee just troll this or what? You open yourself up because you're using E like this to block like 200, 300 damage onto you, but now you don't have it for the Lee Sin play. I don't really know why Lee decided to just kick Braum away. That doesn't seem like a good move from Lee, but Braum does a good thing. He gets the auto off before Lee kicks him away, and then he Qs when Lee Sin comes into him, and Ezreal helps him out with like an auto Q and stuns him up, and then Braum gets another auto in, which is actually really nice here while he's stunned, and then follows it up with the ult, which hits the Lee Sin and the Lulu, so that's pretty good. Does a little bit more damage to the Lee Sin, and then positions back here to the middle to protect Ezreal against the Twitch ult, except we don't have E, so we've actually just made it so Twitch can auto both of us, and given up our positioning where we were aggro on the Lee Sin. And actually, if we were chasing down the Lee Sin autoing him, Twitch might have to choose between autoing Ezreal back here and autoing the Braum. And so actually, even if Braum doesn't have E here, the best way to get Twitch to auto him instead of Ezreal is by not Wing away here. So this W is no good. And now that his Q's back up, he's out of range. Actually, he'll be in range because the Viego got onto him like flash stun or something. Okay, so he hits the Q onto the Twitch though, which is good. So the only thing he did wrong here was like that W backwards. Other than that, every ability, like really nice, actually. So this is, you know, this was a good fight. It's one of the first times like I really agree with most of his ability usage. And no surprise there, it goes pretty well for him. So they pick up the mid turret, but now they need to go to Rift Herald. Now maybe it's acceptable for you, you know, to clear this wave because they did pick up, you know, like some tempo here off the kill. So they clear this mid wave and now they're moving to Rift. And yeah, I still don't know that I like clearing this wave because Lee Sin definitely could have looked for a steal here with how long it took to do Rift Herald, and you didn't really deny Twitch the wave because he ends up just farming these minions. Like, he gets back to this, and he's been here for a second or two now too. He gets back as soon as these minions crash in the turret. He almost may lose more by having to walk further to the minions hitting themselves over here. I get the idea of keeping Lee Sin off of the Rift, so I don't completely disagree with finding Lee Sin here. But it's definitely a little bit aggro. Definitely need to back here. So now play's over, right? Like, the tempo that we got from getting that kill mid is gone. We got Rift Herald off of it. We're less than half HP on the Braum. Ezreal's low. Let's look at gold. Every single person on our team is sitting, oh, except Braum, is sitting at 1,000 gold or more. So think about this, right? We have a 1,000 gold lead, but we're sitting on 4,000 gold in our inventory. So they're sitting on maybe 2,000. So actually they're up 1,000 gold, even though they're down 1,000 gold because we're not recalling. So this is not good. And we're half HP, and Ezreal's half HP. So why are we staying here? So this is really bad. Bad tempo, bad tempo. And then it's really annoying in replays because it's kind of hard to see the timers. I guess we just lost the dragon right before Rift, so dragon's probably still got like 3 or 4 minutes or something left on it. I mean, closer to 3, not 4. But, you know, definitely we're like looking to play for dragon next. So we should be like recalling and like setting a vision for dragon and stuff preemptively and like keeping control of mid, maybe knocking down this top tower. I mean, we have enough time with this 3-minute gap. We definitely just like recall here and go top and knock down the top tower. Maybe the top tower is low enough we can even overstay from Rift Herald and like knock down the top tower with them. That's what our Viego tried to do instead of recalling. So now we're finally recalling. So like Viego's recalled from top. We've recalled from mid. But this should have happened earlier. Oh my god, he missed the Q on the minion. It's unfortunate. So again, dragon's like the next objective that's up. So we should really be worried. Oh, that's kind of unfortunate, actually. Whoa, why is he running into them? No shot. Oh my god, they're actually killing them. Wait, this guy's a Giga Chad. Oh my god. Wait, Braum players are kind of crazy. Wait a second, they all died. Wait, I looked around because I realized this video is taking too long. I looked around and they all died. So what happened here? But do you see what I mean? Every single play is so confusing. Every decision, every single play. It's... Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is a little bit unlucky. I would not personally have expected 3 people in this bush. This is a little bit of a bad way to go about warding the bush. I don't think I would ward the bush like this. I think you would want to come around here, you ward in here. I think you come here and you ward it in the middle. I wouldn't like throw a ward like halfway into the bush instead of on the edge. I wouldn't throw it halfway in, and I wouldn't put it so far this way towards them. Makes little difference. They'd still all three be on you. So what are you doing in a situation? It doesn't matter. It's a little bit weird that they're all here. And it's unfortunate Nasus just started his TP top while this is happening or something. But you have all the tools in the world to survive this on Braum. You just do. You have E, you have flash, so let's see. So I was thinking maybe let's run this way, you know, and W to a minion, and then if we have to flash away, we have to flash away. This guy W'd to Ezreal and then ulted them all. I guess he's just straight up Giga Chad, ulting them. He saw the Viego pinged, he's on his way. This guy is just straight up dropping the exhaust on the Lee Sin, throwing up the E, pressing R, and he's just going to sit in there 1v3 until his team shows up. And boom, there he is. He gets it. Teleport coming in from the Galio, Viego on the way. He's even flashing forward on these guys. I would never. So this is going fine. So what happens here? So this is going fine. Obviously, by doing this, Braum used all of his abilities, and he pushed them back pretty far instead of letting them run into him. One of the advantages of playing like this, or playing like, you know, where you just don't use any of your abilities and run back, is you can really bait them into this Galio TP harder, you know, rather than keeping them preoccupied up here. You want them to chase into you and then ult. And then Viego's closer by the time they get in, and when Galio TPs is potentially behind them. So really the problem comes from this Gangplank getting in here, and then big mistake here. We throw up the E on Braum. Oh, I guess he's dead either way. We throw up the E on Braum to try to block the Twitch poison coming at him right there, or the auto. But Gangplank's able to just... Actually, I don't even think Gangplank autoed him. I think he just died to Gangplank passive. So obviously Braum should have played this a little bit more conservatively, probably from the beginning, even though this looks really nice. He really just should have played it more conservatively. He did miss the Q, but that's not a big deal. It was just damage anyway. Passive was already popped. Actually, let me say something about that. Passive was already popped on Twitch. He probably should have held Q. He holds Q. This becomes a whole different situation with Gangplank. Because rather than dying to Gangplank here and Ezreal dying, if he held his Q instead of throwing it at Twitch, which would have only done damage and slowed Twitch a little bit since Twitch had already been stunned up, you save Q and now you have an ability to get this guy to 4th passive proc, and now you don't die like this, even if you do play this aggro. But he just like straight up runs past the Gangplank. He's playing so aggro here. I mean, I assume this guy's just playing like, I'm dead, I'm just going to use everything and die. But he shouldn't be thinking he's dead right here. I mean, he's out, right? Like, it's okay. So, like, Gangplank's coming in. Oh, he was trying to auto the barrel. And then I guess he's thinking here, like, I just have to die to try to stun the Gangplank. I think his Q came up so fast, he Q'd this guy again. Actually, maybe it wouldn't have mattered then. Maybe his Q came up in time that he could Q the Twitch and Q this guy. So maybe he wouldn't be able to Q this guy twice, even if he had Q in the beginning. He led with Q on this guy, so that wouldn't have changed anything. But obviously, he just doesn't need to walk into Gangplank like this. So his team just overchases into the Gangplank. And part of the reason why this is an overchase in the first place is because of the way he played this, which looked really good at the beginning, right? And started off with a good situation. He used all of his abilities to do that. He played really aggressively in order to do that. He flashed forward to stun Twitch with his passive, and then they didn't even have the ability to follow up and kill the Twitch. And so if he had those tools, like his flash and other things, they can deal with the rest of their team coming in at the tail end of the fight. They can deal with that much better. Oh my god. Guy just ran this guy down. We gotta get through this game. But you know, I've done these VOD reviews a few times before, and I just want to again reiterate you know, as we're walking to the dragon spawn here that we didn't set up because we took a random fight in mid, and now all of our abilities are on cooldown for dragon. Actually, they might come up because we've still got like a little under a minute. So the Braum ult might be back for dragon. Galio ult is not, though. You know, I just want to reiterate that there's all of this stuff for D4 players to improve on, right? And I'm not saying every D4 game is this bad, but even if, let's say that you think that this game is not clean and not representative of a D4 game or whatever, even if it was half as clean, they're still doing almost every ability usage wrong. Almost every decision on when to fight, when to team fight and stuff like that is wrong. So you can't tell me that there's not a massive gap between Masters or GM and D4. And you also can't tell me as a D4 player it's too hard to improve, because I've already improved so much of the game that I can only make incremental improvements, you know, and I don't know what to improve at. Try VOD reviewing the game and think about it, right? Like, there's plenty of stuff to find in these games that's just completely egregious. Plenty of stuff. Like I said, we'll be going over an 80 carry game. Although you know, there's part of the reason why this is taking so long is because I'm not just commenting on the Braum. I'm definitely commenting on like what I'm seeing the Ezreal do sometimes and stuff like that too. And all this is a disaster. Here we go again. Okay, what even happened here? Okay, so Ezreal pushes the mid wave. This is good. Reason why I went here is because this is a first mistake with dragons. Is usually you see teams not prioritizing the mid wave and not walking in through mid, but they actually cleared the mid wave, which keeps Twitch preoccupied, and then walked in through mid. So all of this is good. They pushed the Lee out of the river, and then this is their mistake here. Is you clear this, and then you need to not start up the dragon and have half your team just hitting the dragon. Actually, Braum and Ezreal are probably playing this the smartest here, which is what you need to do in this situation is hold the river and prevent them from entering the river. The difficult thing is that there's two places that they can enter. You know, you've got Swain and Lee Sin over here, and you've got Ezreal or Twitch and Lulu over here. So it's kind of difficult to hold them in from both of these spots. So essentially, Galio's having to move backwards to cave pressure here because he's 1v2. And then Braum and Ezreal actually turn back to hit the dragon once Braum is actually the one who started the dragon, by the way, with his Q. Although Viego positioned like he wanted to do it instead of holding the gates. Okay, so but now Lulu's moving this way, right? And no one's coming in through here. So definitely the fight is here, right? Definitely the fight is here. Braum misses another opportunity where you can throw up E on Braum and none of you will get rooted. You know, so if you were to position in front of your Viego here, none of you get rooted by Swain. So instead of Viego getting pulled in here, you could have just blocked it for him. And Viego lost half of his HP on that. And actually your whole team then gets hit by the dragon splash because you started the dragon. And you're not positioning to go on the Swain and the Lee Sin who are overextended, and your team is split, and you're not positioned to get in front of the Ezreal on the Twitch ult. Oh no. And in fact, once Twitch opens up ult, remember you got to ask yourself, I always say this is one of the things that helped me get to Masters, is what do you use your abilities on? So let's step back for a second and say, if you're Braum this game, what is the most important way in a team fight that you can use your E this game? There's two ways that you can use your E this game that are going to be really effective. Number one, we've been talking about, is your interaction with Braum E and Swain pull to block that ability outright. And if you do it while it's coming at you, if you do it when it's already behind you, it's too late, you'll get rooted. But if you do it while the ability is coming at you, it's still a projectile. Braum E will just make the projectile disappear before it can get behind you to root you. And so Braum can block that ability if it's going to be at a good time. But the big one, right, in a team fight is if Braum is able to block Twitch ult for his whole team, because Twitch ult's not going to be able to go through him. Unfortunately, Braum is too late on blocking the Swain pull, and then when he W's here, he decides to W down to the Viego instead of Wing up to the Ezreal, knowing that Twitch is opening up ult on Ezreal. So now he doesn't even see what's going on up here. I was going to say he's seeing and maybe now he's turning after he's thrown his Q. But no. Basically, Ezreal just walks up and dies to Twitch ult by himself. And you may say, hey, Ezreal's inting here. Like, Ezreal shouldn't have just walked up to Twitch and Lulu and died, like, you know, for free like that. But if you're playing Braum, Ezreal has no reason to die right here because you can just W to the Ezreal and throw up E and all of a sudden Twitch is dead. You're still holding Q and ult even on Braum, right? And again, if we had Locket, we're probably doing a lot here for Ezreal because he's literally dying all at once. You know, so we just W to the wrong target. We don't throw up E at all. No Q, no ult, no nothing. And so we finally throw E, but it's just a block like 1 tick of damage from Swain ult. We throw ult, but it's after Ezreal and Galio are already dead, and now we're just dead for free. Complete collapse this fight. We shouldn't have started the dragon, which Braum did with his Q. We shouldn't have let them walk in like this, because our job here, once we've captured the river, is to hold the river. I agree that potentially the better fight was on the bot side, but if Ezreal's going to walk in here and Twitch is going to walk in and they're facing off like that, your job, right, remember what you learn from thinking about how you want to use your abilities, not just to get some damage blocked with Brahmi, but like to use it in the best possible way. What ability can you counter the hardest with Brahmi in a fight this game? If you know that it's Twitch ult, then you'll be watching Twitch in the team fight instead of like being split like this. Now you're also going to want to watch Swain, so maybe he would have been a little bit split and focus anyways, but honestly, if you would have gotten Brahmi off here and blocked the Swain pull, and then Viego didn't lose half of his HP, and then Swain ends up backing off instead of pinching you guys into, you know, pushing you into the Twitch and the Lulu, you know, maybe the fight goes differently too. But this is just a complete collapse of a fight, and as a result, we lose another dragon. So I would say, right, if I was playing this game as Braum, I would blame myself for that ocean dragon that we lost on trying to camp this bush over here and then overextending, instead of just backing off and taking the jungle or the dragon with our jungler. And then I would blame myself for losing this dragon for not blocking the Twitch ult and for not blocking the Swain pull, which are your only jobs basically in this fight. You didn't do either of them. And then your other thing, like throwing your E for your teammates, even if it's not to block one of those abilities, you didn't do. Even for yourself, you've got to block like a big piece of damage coming at you at once on the first tick because it blocks the whole thing. We just blocked one tiny, you know, a quarter of a second tick of Swain ult, so that didn't block very much damage even for myself here, you know, as a Braum player. And then we didn't throw ult until they're dead either, so just nothing that we did here was correct. And I get it, it happens fast because you're in a collapsing fight that just looks like a bad angle or whatever, but like you can, you know, you have to figure these things out. And if you don't try to think about these things and figure these things out, again, like I always say, you'll never actually get good enough at doing them. So people will say it's too hard to block the Swain thing consistently, or like I can't split my focus and like pay attention to Twitch and pay attention to Swain at the same time. Well, you better recognize that that's what you need to do and start practicing doing it if you feel like you can't do it, because you're never going to be able to block these things and time these things correctly if you don't start practicing doing it. This is actually that's fine. This is actually a really nice play here. Oh, except Ezreal dies mid. This is a really nice play. So we come off of base, and I usually say in this later stage of the game, which we're starting to transition to now in the mid game, really your job as support is two things, right? You want to ward the objective that we're playing for. So we talked about it was like dragon here on that ocean dragon, then it was the Rift Herald that we got, then it was the this Drake. What even is that? Electric Drake? Hextech Drake? I don't even know the game. Hextech Dragon. Okay, we got the Hextech Dragon, and you know, now we're playing for Baron. So if we're playing Braum here, there's no mid turret on either side. Wait, what is going on with this Rift Herald? When did this happen? Oh, I guess it's back here in base. Well, I don't know that I'd leave mid actually knowing that we have a Rift Herald coming, but I mean, also this Rift Herald's going to do nothing. So this is a Rift Herald we took. Why are we summoning Rift Herald like this? I mean, we had like the mid-wave push on the last dragon. Another thing that could have been really helpful is imagine if whoever had Rift Herald, I think our jungler, Viego, imagine if Viego had summoned this Rift Herald when Ezreal had pushed out this mid-wave, and now Twitch is dealing with a Rift Herald coming at him down mid, and now he can't even do this at all in that fight. Okay, but anyways, I was going to say, so you're going to put the wards around those objectives, and then you're also going to look to either protect your most overextended teammate or collapse on their most overextended teammate. So in this case, our most overextended teammate is probably like Nasus. I guess Ezreal's a little bit far up too. They're the two that are furthest up, but they're not too far up. They're at about the midway point. Gangplank's a little bit past the midway point, which would be back here for top lane, right? Because it's diagonal. And Nasus knows that he's split pushing, and hopefully if he's playing it well, although Gangplank, I guess you could say the same thing. But, you know, Nasus should, in theory, back off if you're sending everybody top, recognizing that he needs to back off because of this play for a second. But Gangplank completely overextends. Did he show up? Oh my god. And the crazy thing about this is not only is he overextending by coming up even further past the midpoint, but he's recalling anyways. So this guy could have ran the opposite direction and recalled right here, and it would have given him the exact same thing, except he just decides to recall like right in the enemy's face, and so he just dies for free, I guess. And now Ezreal, oh my god, what did I just watch? No shot. Ezreal tries to get in the Rift Herald, slams it into the wall, and then gets killed by Twitch Lulu. Yeah, he just ran it backwards. Okay, I got a little tip for you guys with the Rift Herald. You're going to love this one. This is buried like 3 hours into the video, so nobody's ever going to find this. I should make a separate video about this one. When you get into Rift Herald, there's a really easy trick to not do all this shenanigans. Frankly, I think Riot's designed it pretty poorly if people are still messing this up in Diamond at this, you know, this after this long. But when you get in the Rift Herald, instead of turning by moving your cursor like a Sional, this is a problem, is they described it like a Sional, right? What you can do is you can click on Rift Herald and then right click on the ground as if you were just moving your champion. So you just click on Rift Herald by right clicking, and you just right click the ground, and it will immediately turn to wherever you click to move. So just move it as if you're right clicking your champion into the turret instead of drifting. You know, or like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll like right click and then I'll right click to get it going the right direction, and then I'll drift with it or whatever, like a Sional. But I think, yeah, they obviously designed it poorly, but that's the way I've never messed up Rift Herald in like a year after running that. Okay, so we missed the Q, and unfortunate that we missed the Q, because if we had hit the Q, we probably wouldn't have to ult here. In fact, maybe we don't even need to ult anyways, because Viego just ends up ulting him. So we do end up having to burn 2 ults on a completely free kill. But yeah, I think that the Ezreal just slammed this into the wall. But how does he die? Oh, Twitch is invisible, but he saw him for a second. He ran away, but then he ran back into the guy. So if you tell me that a Master 80 carry or Grandmaster 80 carry would have seen Twitch invisible over here running around in a circle and then walked into range of the guy, no. I'm sorry, there's a difference between D4 and Masters, I have to tell you, Mr. Commenter. Okay, Brahm's coming in for the play. Boom, big. Good movement between auto attacks there. He didn't even have to throw Q until after the guy was stunned, which was great. And they're just going to get Twitch back here. Oh my god, it's just a clown fiesta everywhere. But then like Nasus probably overextended too far while all this was going on. I guess he didn't extend that far. What happened here? Oh no, he's pretty far up past the midpoint too. This is the exact same thing the Gangplank just did. Oh my god. So both top laners, while Baron's up, just run it down. And Ezreal runs the Rift Herald into a wall and then doesn't see Twitch invisible right in front of him and then kills himself. Braum comes in with a good assist on the overextended Gangplank top, even if you miss the Q. Like I said, sometimes you're going to miss abilities. It happens. Good auto spacing on the Twitch here, and ends up picking up the second kill back. So now it's just a 2 for 2, right? We got Gangplank respawning soon. Ezreal's already respawned, but he just respawned. We got Twitch and Nasus dead. Twitch is a little bit longer respawn timer. In case you didn't know, your respawn timer is longer or shorter depending on what level you are. So supports often have shorter recall timers, and ADs will have like longer ones if they're higher level, or like mid laners and top laners especially. And so sometimes you can get a 1-for-1 play, like a cross map play that the other team handshakes, but it's really good for you if it's like onto somebody who's higher level, because then the death timer is longer and it gives you a window to do something. Okay, so Nasus TP's top. Not how you want to use TP, obviously, because really what you want to do is like Baron's up, right? There is no turret here to defend. There was no play onto Gangplank here because he was like on his own side of the map, like not very overextended at all yet. And so Nasus should have been split pushing bot and then using the TP to join the fight at Baron, or holding it in order to split push, not just randomly TPing top. So I see a lot of TPs where there's one comment I'll make about like mid laners and top laners. I see a lot of TPs where they're just kind of randomly TPing into a lane. How did Galio die? I didn't even see that. So again, we're just trying to play for Baron here, right? I guess he actually got baited by the Nasus TP. He thought that Nasus was going to go on Gangplank, and then Gangplank sniffs this flank out, and Gangplank just solos the guy. And you can say as Nasus here, just like I've been talking about with like the Braum baiting, the Viego and stuff like that, you can talk about like, wow, my Galio's an idiot for looking for this flank. But like if you actually start engaging a fight here onto Gangplank, like Galio wants to be here, he wants to be in range of ult, and he wants to fight this with you. Should he have run into the Gangplank and killed himself? No, but did he know that Gangplank was going to spot him out and like be camping in this bush with the bomb for him? He didn't know that. That's a bit unfortunate for him. You know, so both of them mess up, but like if you're the Nasus, you have to think to yourself, I shouldn't have made this terrible TP. I should be split pushing the correct lane. The Nasus probably walks away from this play thinking his Galio's an idiot, you know, and is just thrown Baron or something like that by dying for free there. Problem is that it's not that simple. Okay, so here we got Ezreal and Viego. So we cleared the mid wave, and now Braum is warding the Baron. Honestly, this is just really good timing from Twitch. Oh, a little bit of a scuffed flash E, but he's going to live here, which is pretty good. Honestly, that's a really good play from Twitch. So there's not a whole lot that can be done about that. I will say that like if we really want to get into it, Ezreal should just be under turret because he wasn't even hitting any minions here. He was just AFK. So if you're just waiting on the wave and you can't walk up because Twitch will just kill you like that, you should just sit under your turret. And you wouldn't lose any CS for doing this as Ezreal. And, you know, and now Ezreal would have his flash for the soul point that's coming up and for potential Baron. Now we're getting into that 1 minute on dragon range and its soul. So now, you know, priority for both teams is probably going to be much higher on the dragon, especially when both teams have kind of mutual vision on what's going on with Baron. So really as Braum, you actually want to be setting up vision more for the dragon, and especially getting control of this mid wave, which he's actually doing. Like he dropped a ward over here. I actually don't like dropping the ward over here. I feel like he's still doing this to ward for Baron as opposed to warding for dragon. I don't know why we didn't drop one here. Maybe we're out of wards because we just used them all on Baron. Yeah, so this is a little bit delayed, right? Because we got less than a minute on dragon, and we've just wasted all of our wards on Baron, when really a minute 30 before dragon, we should be putting all of our wards into soul point. And the reason why Ezreal is, I mean, Twitch is stronger than Ezreal for sure, right? Yeah. But one of the reasons why Ezreal's getting pushed back here is because Braum is off map. You know, because he placed his wards, got chunked here because he didn't have wards. I don't even know why you would walk in here if you don't even have wards to place for the dragon anyway. So why are you up here? And so now Braum's off map. So now Ezreal lost control of the mid wave. And Galio got picked top lane. So remember how I said your job as support is to ward and to protect your most overextended players and collapse on their most overextended player. Their most overextended player here by far is the Gangplank. In fact, this Gallia is really weak and not that good, and he still took this guy like really low. So that's how bad of a fight it was for this guy. If Braum's there, Galio just lives, right, and Gangplank dies. Luckily, right, Viego's able to get the trade, but Nasus is dead bot. So now again, because Braum's off map, because we didn't ward, you know, if we had wards in here, right, all of a sudden Nasus can see this collapse coming. So a lot of times you find yourself in these situations and you're playing the game and you're thinking, oh, well, my mid laner got 1v1 by their top laner, and my top laner keeps split pushing and dying over and over again, and he's 1-4. But like, you're not, and my Ezreal is like weaker than the Twitch and like losing control of the mid wave. Like, what can I do? But the thing is like, as Braum, if you're warding the appropriate objective here, I mean, imagine this, right? Imagine instead of placing these wards on the Baron, you place them on the Dragon, and your Nasus is able to spot these people. You're playing with Diamond 4 players. They're not complete idiots, believe it or not. You place these wards, and now your Nasus backs off of the... I mean, they're bad. Obviously, we're going through that right now. But your Nasus backs off completely off of this collapse because he actually has vision in this spot when Lee Sin walks through here to flank him, right? So he backs off and actually lives for the Dragon. Then we've got, you know, we're mid with full HP, right? Like waiting on the Dragon, and we see that Gangplank is like overextended top, and we go and fight this with Galio while we have time before the Dragon. We kill Gangplank, and now we have a 5v4 at Dragon. Or because we've used all of our wards at Dragon, we need to reset and refresh our wards for Dragon is another thing that I commonly do. So we instantly recall, and we see Gangplank and Galio fighting, and we sprint from base with Home Guard to help the Galio fight, and we might win that as well. I don't know if the timing would work out on that. That's a little bit too far ahead for me to speculate where everybody would have been in that situation, but that's definitely a possibility as well. So now all of a sudden, right, this situation would have been, you know, you have what, like a 3v4 with no vision of soul. Instead, now you have a 5v4 with vision on soul. So you see how big of a deal it is, right? These things that you can do or not do, they can have a huge impact on the game. And so again, if I'm playing Braum this game, this guy as a D4 player, not necessarily recognizing all these little flaws, and I don't think they're that little when you start pointing them out, like I said, but you know, him not recognizing these flaws, he's probably going to say, you know, I'm 0-3-11, so what is that, like 0-3-9 would be a 3 KDA, so we're 1 assist off of a 4 KD. We've got 11 out of 13 kill participation, which is really high, probably 80+% still. Let's see. Yeah, that's 85% kill participation. So he's probably thinking, like, I'm playing the best game that I know how to play. And we're behind 4,000 gold, and we've lost all of the dragons, and, you know, what can we do? But if we don't overextend here on the Ocean Dragon, take a bad fight, if we don't, you know, fail to do anything and just get collapsed on in this fight over the Hex Tech Drake, and if we protect our teammates instead of warding the wrong objective and then getting chunked and then recalling 1 minute before the last Hex Tech Dragon, which was their soul, then, you know, these 3 dragons are all potentially winnable plays just off of the way that we're playing the game, completely ignoring how good or bad our teammates are playing. So, you know, you can have a huge impact on these games. These players just don't realize it yet. You know, and the funny thing too is, like, I bet a lot of people saying, like, they can't tell the difference between, like, a master player and a D4 player or whatever. How much time do you think they actually spend watching, like, a challenger player, a master player play the game? How much time do you think they actually spend watching even necessarily a D4 player? Maybe some of them saying that are D4, right? But, like, honestly, most people just play the game. and are not watching this kind of content, and they're not VOD reviewing themselves, and they're not watching a master or challenger player play, and they're not listening to the way that they think. So a lot of people probably saying that kind of thing, I would say a good portion of them probably don't even know what a challenger or master player plays like or thinks like. So of course they're going to think that because they don't know. They don't even know. So let's look at this one. So now we're on the back foot because they've got soul. Oh my god, it's free. Okay, so it's easy. Like, this fight should be won, right? Because Swain, for whatever reason, we're like all contesting the Baron. We're playing mid here. We finally got a nice fight where, oh, we're not quite 5. Nasus is bot, no TP. Big mistake from the Nasus here. You cannot be bought with no TP. Actually, the one who should be bought here is Galio, because Galio does have TP, so incorrect lane assignment. But this should be a free pick onto the Swain. Oh no, surely. Where is the Braum here? He's got everything. Okay, so we're ulting him. I believe this is the Braum ult coming out right now. We'll see. And then we should throw up E to block the Twitch ult, and this should just be a free fight. Honestly, Braum played this fight okay, but Twitch just had too many sums. And I think that the Braum ult, well, okay, the Braum ult needed to come out a little bit sooner on to picking the Swain. When the Swain was CC'd by Braum passive here, the Braum ult needed to chain CC the Swain before he flashed away. Not hit the Twitch. Because the Twitch is not a threat when your E is already blocking the Twitch. So even after the Swain flashes away, maybe Twitch is the furthest up, so hitting him with the ult is okay, and obviously you're going to have to kill him once the E falls off. And then let's take a look at like itemization. Itemization here, not good. We have Thornmail, and that doesn't make any sense. So you get 40% grievous wounds from Bramble Vest, the same as you get from Thornmail. So there's no reason to pay a huge amount of money extra or gold or whatever to upgrade to Thornmail when you can just sit on Bramble Vest and go into your next item. So he could have been, especially because he has Ruby Crystal and he's probably sitting on gold. So he's sitting on 400 gold. He's got 400 gold here. I'm trying to think of how much. I think Thornmail is 1900. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, 2700. But then when you have Bramble, it's 1900 to upgrade. So he could have had 1900 plus 400 plus 400. So that'd be 1900 plus 800, which is 2700, which is enough for a whole nother item. In fact, Locket and Redemption are like 22 and 2300, right? So he could have had Locket or Redemption, a whole nother item, and still been doing the same thing with Thornmail that he's doing by just sitting on Bramble Vest. He's down a whole item just because of bad itemization here. And again, when you're getting, so he's got, actually Thornmail went pretty hard here because he's got 1,000 thorns damage, which is one thing that does get increased, I think, when you buy Thornmail. So he's getting about 2,000 value from Thornmail, which is actually pretty darn good. Knight's Vow, he's about 1,000. Honestly, I mean, like I said, I would go, so the other items we'd be looking at here would be like Locket Redemption. Honestly, Locket and Redemption would be performing about the same. I mean, maybe like Knight's Vow at 973 would probably be outperformed by Locket. Obviously, it's better to sit on Bramble and have like Locket for free. He still has no magic resist, by the way, too, which is really bad in the build. Again, especially because their team's like half magic damage. The guy's getting shredded. Or he went 2 full health armor items in a row. No magic resist. I guess he has the Merc Treads. I wouldn't have gone Merc Treads either this game. What are you even blocking with Merc Treads? What? So only hard CC that Merc Treads... So Lulu has Polymorph, right? But I don't think he's been polymorphed the entire game, by the way. And it's Twitch Lulu. So Lulu's actually like spamming W on Twitch. And it's D4 Lulu. So she's spamming W on Twitch. Twitch has no hard CC. And the Lulu ult, by the way, is a knock-up, so tenacity doesn't reduce it at all. Swain's only hard CC is his pull, but his pullback is like a pull, so it doesn't... I don't think Merc Treads do anything to that. Maybe it's actually technically a stun or something, or a root when he hits you with it. But the main part of the CC is that he's pushing you backwards. So whether he's pushing you backwards quarter of a second earlier or not doesn't matter. Swain's pushing you backwards, so that doesn't do anything. Lee Sin's only hard CC is his ult, which is a knockback, so that doesn't do anything. And Gangplank's got no hard CC. If anything, and I love building swiftness boots almost every game, that's going to work against Lulu Q. It's going to work against Twitch W. It's going to work against Red Buff, which now applies to like all 5 people on the enemy team late game. It's going to work on Swain's Rylai's, which is all of his abilities. It's going to work on Lee Sin's, E slow, his E2, which will slow, and it's going to work on Gangplank slow on his barrel. So you're going to get a lot more value out of swiftness boots here. You could get a lot more value out of Ninja Tabby here, actually, because he's like, obviously with the way the Thornmails is going, he's blocking a ton of damage, and if he's trying to block Twitch ult with E every fight, he should definitely be thinking about like a Tabby game, or plated steel caps, or whatever they're called. So I guess the game just ends right here, right? Yeah, it does. So they just like lose that team fight. It was a good try. They had to fight for the Baron, but they were really far behind at this point. Need to layer the CC onto Swain a little bit better there, and just can't quite get it. I guess we're gonna like die one more time here on the Nexus. A valiant effort here, but it won't be enough. Oh my god. Yeah, it's not enough. What are they yapping about? Okay, so that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be back with one on a D4 80 carry player and trying to show how you can manage waves a little bit better and position better and all that stuff on 80 carry. So we're going to kind of be walking through the same thing, because obviously like this is just for support. That's where I'm going to have the most input on. But I think you get the point, right? I'm going to reiterate one last time that there is a big difference between D4 and Masters and GM, and the way that you think about the game and the way that you play the game. And it's about how consistent you're doing this. So am I playing like I'm describing when I'm thinking about it and VOD reviewing every single game? Am I playing that cognizant? No. But I'm playing like that way more often than this guy's playing like that, and that's why I'm like Masters of GM and this guy's like Diamond 4, right? So it's about consistency. This perception that getting from D4, that the improvements that you need to make, the changes that you need to make, this guy, the improvements he needs to make, and again, I'm not trying to call anybody out, so I know I get a little bit upset about the gameplay, but this guy, what he needs to do to improve to go from D4 to Masters is not that big of a deal. It's not that hard to see when you review the game. It's not mind-boggling. It's not too difficult for a human to pull off, to train, to do these things better. It's not complicated. It's straightforward what this person needs to do to improve to get from D4 to Masters. And people who are telling them that are either like Master players or GM players who are trying to up their ego, right, and are trying to pretend like it's super hard to get to the rank that they got to, and so they should have more ego and respect. Or it's a Diamond 4 player who wants to be hard stuck, who likes being hard stuck because they don't want to actually think about what they need to do or change to improve, don't want to admit that they're wrong. And so they're protecting their ego. It's like a pact, right? It's like the hard stuck D4 players made a pact with the hard stuck GM players or Master players. And they got together and they said, getting Masters is so hard, it's impossible. How could I ever make them, getting Diamond is hard enough. How could I make the micro improvements that I need to get to Masters? They're too hard to see. My gameplay looks too good for there to be this many flaws with it that I could improve so much to get to Masters. And the master players are saying, yeah, that's right. I'm so good at the game that you could never figure out how to make the improvements I made to my gameplay. I'm just too good. And I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. It's pretty obvious what you're doing wrong in D4. Try to watch one of your games for once and drop the ego and maybe improve a little bit, and then we'll get somewhere with the game, right? Because like I said, I was stuck for a long time in platinum and like high platinum and diamond before emerald was the thing. It wasn't that it took me 3 or 4 seasons of being stuck in diamond to learn how to get to masters. It was that once I dropped the ego and started thinking about what I was doing wrong, started thinking about the way that I was playing the game instead of autopiloting, started thinking about how to use my abilities better and changing everything about the way that I was playing for the better and dropping my old habits that were getting me to diamond but keeping me stuck there. Once I dropped those things and started thinking about how to improve, that's what got me from diamond to masters. And it happened in like a year, like from plat 4 to like masters in like a year. Not even that, right? I ended masters, but like, I mean, I probably got there in like a couple of months. It was like a crazy rapid climb where I finally broke through and figured something out. And it's literally as simple as drop the ego. There is a big gap between Masters and Diamond 4, but it's obvious what the gap is and what the problems are. Drop the ego, fix the gameplay, improve, climb. I hope you enjoyed. Good luck in solo queue and have a wonderful day. I will be back with the 80 carry game another day. Okay. GG.